Oh yeah, that's a really good experience.
Yeah.
Good for you.
Yeah, softball was fun.
Yeah, it was fun. And in fact, it starts in another week, I want to say.
Yeah, that's true.
Thereabouts.
Special, you have your own?
Yes.
Well, in my book, they're so good.
Usually.
You're probably way younger. My youngest daughter is 30.
Yeah.
Awful.
Yeah, so you're
Did you play them before high school then?
I'm 22.
Yeah.
you're young.
Sorry, I just wanted to use that.
You've been waiting a long time.
I have been waiting. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Winchester Public Schools Board of Education regular meeting for March 10th of 2026. Would everyone please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Roll call.
Joseph Santoro,
Chrissy Rylander.
Frank Oliveri, Shane Centrella,
Kurt Warner.
Julie Luby.
Nora Mukarski.
Eleanor Bishop.
Carol Kiak.
Jonathan Moore.
Okay, on to item 2, approval of the agenda. We have a couple changes here, so for additions.
I would like to see if someone on the board's willing to make a motion and vote to add as an action item. I would like to seek board approval, and I'll explain when we get to it, to potentially send a drone team to regional competition, and I'll tell you more about it. But since the board is supposed to approve trips that are longer than one day, and it would be longer than one day, I wanted to run that by you tonight.
Do you want to do it as action item C?
Action item
I would love to do action item A. It'll be 2-3 minutes.
Okay, and
shouldn't
move
be
everything
complicated.
down. So policies for possible deletion becomes B, and direction of superintendent becomes C. Okay, yeah. All right, I'll make a motion to add underneath action items, item 8A, discussion of possible action to send the drone team out to compete.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Unanimous?
Thank you.
Okay. Frank?
May I make a request to change the order of the agenda for tonight and move item 8, action items ahead of item 7, the information items?
Okay, so Frank is making a motion to move item 8, action items ahead of, and make it item 7, ahead of information items would then be item 8. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, Carol, all in favor? Oh, hold on.
1, 2,
1,
7.
7, against? 2? Okay. Motion carries. So we'll move these two. Okay, any other?
Just testing my ability to get the minutes right, Art.
Okay, not seeing any. Let's move on to item 3, what we're here for tonight, student showcase.
So later in the meeting, we will talk a little bit about our drone program, but as our student showcase tonight, we have a whole bunch of students who've been practicing regularly and have begun competing at drone competitions. The team is coached by Renee St. Hilaire and Ryan Healy, our innovation teacher at Pearson School. I'm just going to say we are tickled pink, and they are doing a great job. They are a brand new young team. There are no team members who did this with us in the past because it's been 2 years since we had a team, and those kids have moved up to Gilbert School. I think by the time the kids are done, you'll probably know a lot more. I always thought like drone competition just meant like take your little this thingy and fly them. Turns out there's so much more to it, so prepare to be amazed.
And we are hosting a competition this weekend?
We are Saturday, March 14th at Pearson, 7:30 in the morning is the start, and it'll probably go to about 3:30. I would love any or brought our drone team, or part of our drone team. We actually have a couple more kids on the team that couldn't make it this evening. But I wanted to share with you a little bit about what we've been working on, the important skills that these students are learning, and just how it will relate to their future, and how much fun they've been having. It's been incredible for me as a coach. I am so impressed, proud, and humbled at how much they've been able to accomplish in a short period of time. So if you look at the screen, you'll see that not only is it fun, but there's a lot of engineering skills. They use a coding program, which is a block-based program. If you could go back 1 second, I'll show you a little bit more about it in a minute. Primarily for their autonomous flights. We're not going to demonstrate that this evening, but what happens is they do some coding of a field, and then the drone flies without the remote control.
Isn't that crazy?
And it's a lot harder, as these kids will tell you, than it looks. When we get to the competitions, they actually have to make some adjustments, test it out. They get 3 tries, and then they run the course. And in a moment, some of the students will tell you about their experience with autonomous. They also have to do a lot of collaborating. They are a team together. They have to problem solve. They have to coach. And we got a great compliment at the last event. Some of the other coaches said to me, wow, your students help each other. They're like, no, come over here. Look at the time, 10 more seconds. And isn't it right, you guys? We've been working hard on that, because being a partner is sometimes way more important than just flying the drone. Our success is as a team. Go ahead, Matt. Here you see an example of some of the programming that our students have to do. And it really promotes these skills of computational thinking, logics, and problem solving. Because what will happen is sometimes they'll run it, and the different drifting or elements that are happening in the particular room we're in change the course, the trajectory of the drone, so they have to figure things out. Sometimes the drones don't always work the right way, right? And they have to learn how to fix the drone or to compensate for something that the drone might be doing, such as drift, right? And we've been working hard probably since November. We practice 2 days a week after school. These children have been so committed. I'm just so proud. They work on things like practicing. They have a logbook that they have to record in every practice. They work on interviewing skills, setting up the field, fixing the drones. They're responsible for everything, battery charging. The adults are supposed to be really hands-off, so these guys are doing it all. And as you see, here are some examples of some of the skills that they're learning, and some of the career pathways, and I know they're going to talk to you a little bit about some of the things that they've been learning about what drones can help them with in their future. So, without further ado, I'm going to ask Michael. He's going to demonstrate a little bit of the flying of the drones. And Logan, do you want to explain before he starts, like some of the equipment and what we have to do? If you can explain these 2 things.
So this is the hoop, where when they so on the controller there's buttons that are very confusing. And to start it, you have to do this. Wait, you have to just do this. This is the start.
Well, that's the takeoff, right?
This.
Yeah. Yeah. But let's, yeah.
These
Yeah,
to emergency.
right.
like use one of the joysticks to go down. It goes down very slow sometimes. You can change the speed, so
Miss St. Hilaire, put the microphone on. I'm so sorry.
Nope, keep talking. Go ahead, Logan.
You're doing great. We just want to make sure everyone can hear you.
you go down very fast, you're gonna break the drum. So you have to be light with the joysticks so it goes slow. And then it makes a soft landing and
In that box or on that box or?
you can if you want extra points, but also
Yeah, I didn't bring all the equipment, right?
you can also go through here and you get like 10 points.
Yeah.
And you can do it again for extra.
All right, and Emma's
That's
gonna
harder
talk
than
to
it
us a little bit about safety.
So
Nice and loud. Here a little bit. Nice and loud.
Big and loud, sweetheart.
So you have to have safety goggles at the competition, or else they take off points. And you should only use the emergency landing if there's an emergency, because you might break the drum.
Yes, nice job. And Ivy's gonna tell you a little bit about how the Teamwork Alliance works and how you have to work together with people.
So basically, before you start the teamwork course, you should find your
Alliance?
alliance, and you should discuss what you guys are gonna do and what they're gonna do. Because sometimes if you don't, you guys are gonna get confused and you won't be able to do as much and get as much points.
So let me just add on to this. There are 4 components to the competition. The first component is a teamwork alliance, which is what Ivy's talking about. They are paired almost like a March Madness, where you're randomly paired with all these different teams. And instead of working against each other, you work as a partner. So our team works with another team, they strategize who's going to do what with their drones, and they work together to score the most number of points. All of those competitions are added together to then have that March Madness sort of like final 4, final 8 playoff, depending on how many teams. At our last competition, we made it down to the finals.
Wow.
So it was very impressive. The second component to the competition is communications. So Lincoln, can you tell them a little bit about interviewing and logbooks? So what are some of the things they ask you at interviews?
Interviews, they usually ask you like what strategies you're going to use. They also ask you a few questions about safety and what you need to like do to prevent getting hurt. There's also they also usually ask you like how drones will help you in the future, like any like career paths for later on, and how like doing this now can help you.
Right, and the logbook?
The logbook is good to explain in words on like a book. Sometimes you can do it on Google Docs, like our team did, but it's to explain what you did during class, what you learned. Sometimes also about pretty much it's mostly what you do in the interview. The log is mainly to prepare for that, but you usually write all about that and also about safety again.
Great, thank you. So the third competition is the autonomous, which you saw with the coding. And I'm very proud to say that Lincoln was one of our team members who flew autonomously. That's coding without flying it with the controller. And he scored the highest at the competition with autonomous, so that was fantastic. He did one of the hardest tricks. Do you want to tell them what the trick was that you were able to do?
I was able to get the drone to go, so after going through the green hoop, I got it to go down, land, go up through a hole on a box, and then out through the side of the box.
The holes are pretty little.
The holes are like
Yes.
a little bigger than the
Yeah,
drum.
yeah, it's pretty impressive. The fourth component is the piloting, which is the skills where you fly with the controller. And our pilot expert for right now, for this past event, was Michael. So he's going to demonstrate for us, and I'm actually gonna have Lincoln go stand over there in case we need to,
Protect people.
retrieve the drone. And I will just say, everyone, we want you to just be careful.
Be alert.
It's not really gonna hurt you, but if the drone comes flying to you, just step back a little bit.
Step away.
Lincoln, you can put that on the table, so you have.
He's not letting go of that. Oh, they made that look easy. Whoa.
Yeah.
There's a whole course. You can come back for crew, and you can get more points. And then, once the time is almost up, you can go to land, which will also get you more points. There's a cube and a bullseye for that one.
I'm impressed that you can talk and.
No, almost.
And Lincoln, come on over here. And so we competed, we've done 2 competitions. One was in Branford, which I think we talked about at the last board meeting. Last Saturday, we competed in Bristol, and it was a middle school separate program and a high school separate program. And go ahead, Lincoln, show them what we won.
As a result of our points total from our flying with a controller and autonomous missions, the score total, we had the highest out of any other team, and that earned us this award.
And I just want to acknowledge that all of our teams have exceeded my expectations, and I think theirs. They have just grown so much since our first couple practices, and we're excited to go to the Pearson. We have 3 goals. Who remembers one of our goals? Logan?
Have fun.
Yes. Ivy?
Do better than last time.
Do better than last time. Mike?
And learn.
And learn. Those are our goals. We're happy that we win an award, but those are our main goals. So thank you for listening, and I don't know if you have any questions, or again, a little plug for volunteers for Saturday. It does take volunteers to make it successful, but if you can't volunteer, come see. It's so fun.
Actually, at the school, inside,
Yes,
sort of, I think you said like between 9 and 2, you're gonna see cool
Yes.
stuff. So if you're just popping in, that's your good window. Guys, thank you. We are so excited.
Nice
for
job.
you.
Thank you.
over there.
All right, thank you, guys. Okay, let's move on to item 4, public comment. The Winchester Board of Education welcomes you to its business meeting. There are 2 opportunities set aside to hear comments from the public. We welcome and encourage public participation as a valued part of communicating input with the Winchester Board of Education. We appreciate your adherence to the following. Complete the requested information on the sign-in sheet if you wish to speak. State your name and address when called upon to speak. You will be allotted 3 minutes to share your comments. Please be advised that it is not the practice of Board of Education to engage in dialogue regarding commentary. The superintendent of schools will be directed by the chairperson to prepare an appropriate response in a timely manner. We appreciate your time and thoughtful commentary. Does anyone wish to speak?
Hello, my name is Seth Roy at 288 Torringford Street. I want to take some of your time to bring up some key points that I noticed from your last several board meetings concerning the budget. Many people continue to advocate for Gilbert, taking on our 6th grade. I am here to tell you that no one in this town wants Gilbert more involved in our children's lives than they already are. Most of the parents who came to the last few meetings to voice their opinion in favor of keeping the budget as presented by Dr. Julie Luby were either Republican or conservative-leaning people. This board would be disenfranchising their own voters in favor of an agenda that none of us want. The truth about Gilbert is that they have lower test scores than our public schools do, and quite frankly, they cost us more. The long-term cost of giving more power to Gilbert would result in more taxes, not less, as Gilbert is the entity that decides the tuition of our students and its own superintendent, a price that we as a town must pay. So go ahead and push your agenda, but it will only result in voters pushing you out, not keeping you in. I wonder how many of the members here tonight have ever toured our school systems to gauge what our real needs might be. I would guess the answer is less than half of you. I know we have a couple parents on the board, and it was painfully obvious who they were because all of them echoed that we needed to either keep the budget or reduce the budget, but make sure the special education programs got some support. The special education programs continue to be gutted year after year, and this will only affect our school children more. Raise your hand if you enjoy chairs being thrown at you and getting hurt daily. I didn't think anyone would. This is a daily occurrence for some of the staff, and by reducing the budget more, we are only inviting these issues to spread to the rest of the school when we begin to lose more staffing due to cuts. Also, I noticed that this board acts like they are simply Board of Selectmen, who just so happen to also be on the Board of Education. Your job as a member of this board is to advocate for the children. To suggest immediate cuts, while sometimes necessary, without looking at the data and the needs of the school system is embarrassing. There was a moment when one member of the board said they would keep voting no because none of their questions were being answered. They then repeated their questions that they wanted answered, and the worst part is these questions were already answered by Dr. Julie Luby 30 minutes prior. This tells me that some board members are simply not paying attention to the key points and truly focusing on the things that matter. If you do not want to be the entity that protects our children's futures, then maybe you should resign and try for the Board of Selectmen on another voting year. Thank you.
When you're done, please sign it. You can, yep, that's okay.
Sorry. First time.
That's all right.
I'm so sorry. Todd Broder, 130 East Lake Street. I don't normally make public comments, but today I do need to speak. The proposal from the previous Board of Education meeting, the proposal to turn over the operation and governance of our school to Gilbert, is troubling. I urge the board to amend the original proposal. The idea of losing direct control of both school operations and finances, and possibly the school properties as well, to a private board is simply unacceptable. We have every right to expect direct representation. We are talking about our schools, our taxes, and more importantly, our children. Decisions about major policies, budgets, programs, even discipline must have voter oversight. It is an absolute requirement and we demand it. Please take a step back from any kind of quick decision. You need to give everyone, the board included, the time for serious comment and serious research. There are so many questions left unanswered at this point. Has the board's proposal had any formal legal examination? Does the board actually have the authority to make these changes? Does the change put federal or state funds or grants at risk? What recourse does the town have if performance falls below expectations? And so many more. It's essential to take the time needed to find a durable solution that moves the town forward while balancing the needs of the students with the interests of the taxpayers. There is no room for ideology, rhetoric, or gamesmanship. Remember, not every voter in town will speak here today, but you, the board, speak in their name and with their trust. Acting too quickly will betray that trust. We simply want you to work with us to address our legitimate concerns. Do that and we will support you. But if you fail that simple test, the voters will remember. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Sure, absolutely.
My name's Tyler Asbury, 233 Colebrook Road. I would like to focus on the motion itself. The motion is premature and incomplete. The problem is not that the board wants more information. The problem is that the motion asks for information to support a major restructuring before the foundational groundwork has been done. What is being proposed is not a simple scheduling adjustment or a classroom reorganization. It involves possible changes to governance, finance, legal structures, labor, transportation, special education, and state aid. That means before any meaningful plan can be written, the board first needs a serious analysis of the facts. For example, if you expand Gilbert's oversight of what is currently a public school system, what would happen to state educational cost sharing funding? What would happen to special education obligations? What would happen to town ownership and control of school buildings? What would happen to labor contracts, staffing costs? What would happen to the budget if tuition keeps increasing at the current rate? What would happen to what legal authority does the board even have over grades 7 and 8? What alternatives exist besides the one implied by the motion? Without that work, this motion is backwards. It asks the superintendent to move toward a plan before the board has done the due diligence required to understand whether that plan is lawful, affordable, or educationally sound. That is not responsible governance. If this board truly wants answers, then please revise the motion so that it calls first for a comprehensive research and feasibility process, not a predetermined expansion concept dressed up as a study in 1 week. This town deserves a fair process, not a rushed conclusion. And I want to speak specifically about the timeline in this motion. This deadline being proposed is not serious. 6 days isn't enough time to do the work this motion demands if the board actually wants a careful, accurate, professional result. In 6 days, no superintendent can responsibly do all of the following: analyze legal issues involving Connecticut Statute 1034 and 1035, evaluate the August 2025 designation agreement, compare long-term taxpayer costs across multiple structural models, consult counsel, consult the town manager or finance office, model the potential impact on ECS and other grants, evaluate special education service delivery, assess labor, transportation facilities, administrative implications, identify risks, dependencies, implementation barriers. This is not a 6-day task. This is months of work. And if this board accepts a rushed document produced under that kind of timeline, then the result will not be a serious plan. It'll be a placeholder, an outline, or a guess. If the board wants something real, then the motion must be revised to allow enough time for a true analysis. This is exactly the kind of decision that can affect Winchester for decades. A 6-day deadline doesn't show urgency, it shows recklessness. Please revise the motion so that this work can be done properly. Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to speak? Anyone else wishing to speak?
I got a
No,
web.
hold on. We got more people.
At the end, I got an email from somebody.
My name is Benita Roy. I live at 288 Torrencourt Street in Winston. I'm a parent and I have 4 children in the school system, 1 in Hinsdale, 2 in Pearson, and 1 at Gilbert. I do also work at Pearson. First, I wanted to state that the reason why we need this budget passed is we have IEPs, which are something that we have to honor, and it's a federal law. If we cut any more funding and we cannot hire additional supports that we really do need, we're gonna be out of compliance, which will also put us not following the law. Not only that, I do work closely with some of the people that we were asking to pass the budget for, one of them being a BCBA. The BCBA is extremely important because they give us the tools necessary to keep our students in school so we don't chance and risk the kids being outplaced. We're complaining about the prices of the students that we have to pay to outplace those students. But what we're not talking about is that we don't give them the services we cannot follow an IEP, meaning we have to find proper setting for them. So we have to look at outsourced placements. And just like the OTs and the PTs speech, they're teaching them how to be independent, and also they're teaching them how to communicate, be successful adults, just like I say about my own children. I'm not raising children, I'm raising successful adults in our community. And it all starts now in the education system. That's all I have.
Okay, okay, perfect. Anyone else wishing to speak?
Hi, everyone. I think a lot of you know who I am. I was on the board before some of you came on. Renee Waldron, 111 Standard Avenue. Okay, I came here tonight intending to talk about finances, but before we talk about dollars, we need to talk about students. The phrase unique flexibility from certain state mandates and the rationale of the motion that will be presented tonight makes me nervous. It raises a very simple question: flexibility from which mandates? I've worked in special education since 1990 in one capacity or another. I've been a public school teacher for 23 years, and for 6 of those years I served as an out-of-district coordinator. In that role, I admin roughly 300 PPT meetings a year. I sit with families who are sometimes angry, sometimes heartbroken, and sometimes just exhausted, but always fighting for their children, because to them, these students aren't line items. So if we're talking about reducing services, we have to be extremely careful. I worked with a student whose needs were so significant that I was physically harmed and had to stop working. This student had returned to the district from an outplacement and very quickly had to go back out again. Bringing a student back successfully takes planning, staffing, and the right supports. In special education, we also have legal mandates. We are required to meet students' needs based on the law and their individual needs, not based on budgets or convenience. I also served on the Winchester Board of Education and the Gilbert Corp for 4 years. Making decisions is complicated because people don't always agree. And asking hard questions makes you feel like the black sheep in the room. But asking hard questions is part of doing a job well. At the end of the day, we must make sure that we're doing right by our students and meeting the obligations we have to them, legally, ethically, and as a community. Okay, about the money. Using publicly available budget information, I made a rough, very rough estimate of the potential cost to taxpayers if the Gilbert School were to take over pre-K through 12, including special education and transportation. Estimated costs include Gilbert tuition for roughly 1,000 students, about $24.2 million. Out-of-district tuition, about $2.5 million. In-district special education, about $2.8 million. Transportation, about $2.1 million. Estimated administrative costs, about $400,000. Offsetting that would be the state ECS grant, about $7.8 million. Town support for education, about $1 million. Estimated administrative savings, $500,000, which leaves an estimated net cost to taxpayers of $22.7 million. For comparison, the projected WPS net cost to taxpayers in 2027 is approximately $19.3 million. That's an estimated increase about $3.4 million to taxpayers. Obviously, the number may change with better data, but even as an estimate, it raises serious concerns about the potential of financial impact on residents. There are 3 endowed academies in Connecticut. Based on a simple Google search for the 26-27 school year, the Gilbert School per student tuition is $24,226 in a town with a median income of $66,500. The Woodstock Academy tuition is $21,500 with a median income of about $112,000. Norwich Free Academy tuition is $16,148 with a median income of about $66,300. Because before we commit to any plan, we need to be absolutely certain that it is legally sound, educationally responsible, and financially sustainable for the people who live here in Winston. That's it.
Anyone else?
Jennifer Mitchell, 95 Nolet Drive, Winston, obviously. I don't know why I said that. So I spoke last time, and I feel like it fell on deaf ears. It was actually pretty obvious that it fell on deaf ears, which was really disheartening. One thing I noticed is the people that voted no, regardless of what people came back with, there didn't seem to be a lot of diplomacy in the room. There didn't seem to be a lot of actually listening to what the parents were saying. And we're not just parents, we're voters. We're business owners. I'm a business owner. My husband owns a business in this town. I don't understand one of the comments that stood out a great deal to me, and I did take it very personally because I'm the parent of 2 special needs children and 1 gen ed student. So I've seen both sides. I have a child that has never been in the office, never probably will be in the office, and it's lovely to have that little ray of sunshine, but that doesn't make her any more important than my other 2 children. And the fact that someone on the Board of Education questioned the amount that we're spending on special education is ridiculous, and it's rude. For one thing, the reason we're spending so much on special education is because our schools are not funded properly. That's why we're outsourcing, because we are not giving our schools what they need, so we have to send those kids out somewhere that has what they need, and then we have to pay for it, because that's the law. The public education has to be offered, and if you can't offer it at the level in which the child needs, we pay for it. So if you want to save money, start giving Dr. Luby what she asks for. Thank you.
Anyone else wish to speak?
Good evening, Paul Marino, 678 East Wakefield Boulevard, and a member of the Board of Selectmen. Members of this esteemed board, it is time that we solved this age-old problem that's been going on in this town for far too long. Our relationship with Gilbert has been tense at times, it's been good at other times, and since I've been involved in the town, it has not been necessarily great. They have an open checkbook, which scares the bejesus out of me as someone who has to sit and go through our budget every single year. It's time to look at a different solution. Your legacy serving on this board, those of you that are new, those of you who have served for a while, your legacy can be to solve this problem once and for all. The fact that you have some thoughts of this, and I haven't seen the motion, thankfully, I've heard a little bit about it, but the fact that you're at least willing to open the discussion about what do we do with our education system from K to 12 or pre-K to 12, I think is phenomenal that we're going to start to actually look at a solution. We should look at whatever is in your current motion. We should look at the reverse to see if that's possible. We should look at building our own school, and we should look at what relationship maybe we can have with Region 7. I don't know the answer. I know that you all can figure it out if you task the right people to come back with this information. But let's do something once and for all so that the public believes we've done our best finally. We can't kick this can down the road another 10 years, and that's what we've done. If your intention is to task Dr. Luby with the studies for different scenarios, then let's do it. Let's get a plan. Bring the Board of Selectmen your plan, and we'll look at funding it. Nothing's off the table. And that includes building the school. If you'd asked me that 6 months ago, I'd have thought you were crazy. I don't think it's crazy anymore, and that may be our solution. But let's look at all of the solutions that solve this problem and make it your legacy. Thank you.
Anyone else wish to speak?
Good evening, everyone. Candy Perez, 605 West Wakefield Boulevard. I wasn't wanting to come out and speak tonight, but I think it's important to do so, as other people that are here as well. I would like to make sure that you all know that I had 37 years in public education. I was at Canton, Wamogo, which was Region 6, and Region 7 with successful careers. I spent 22 years on the Board of Selectmen, and I'd like to go back through a little bit of history on that.
I like Paul with his comments. I want to speak about the whole town. I want to speak about what's happening and why the motion that's in your packet, to me, is something that can't go forward. It's not comprehensive, it's not analytical, it doesn't bring the data, there's no compelling evidence, et cetera, et cetera. But I'll take you back to 2010, because I like to refer to 2010 when the town was in turmoil, when there was chaos, when $1 million was cut from the MBR of this town, and then the Board of Selectmen had to go put the $1 million back. That was in 2010. Chaos, right? The state came in and they took over our Board of Education. We were barely making it because we had our finance director was a thief. But you know what Winston did? You know what Winston did starting in 2013 and especially after 2014? We all pulled together. The Board of Education had a board that worked together. There was no secret motions coming forward from anywhere. They worked together. What did the Board of Selectmen do? We worked together. We all worked together to do that. The town worked together. Everybody was pulling in the same direction. Everybody in town wanted Winston to succeed. Today, if you ask people, they think the town has gotten a lot better. We've had some storefronts. You're a business owner on Main Street. We've had other people come in. Everybody wants the town to move forward, right? So we have to, you have to, all of us in the audience, everybody on the Board of Selectmen has to pull together in the same direction. And one of those things, if you want to study it, and if you want to figure out about the can that keeps going down the road, you also have to remember there's tradition, right? So there's a lot of traditions that also come into play in all of this. It's not just a mere financial situation, it's also a community tradition foundation. And I know I'm going to run out of time, so I better go faster. So everybody turned out. Melanie was the superintendent. She turned around the school. K-6 has done better than it ever has before. I heard some people at the last meeting speak. It is not true. They are at state level or better with performance. We need to see what the 7 through 12 performance is because you can't find it on websites. I tried to do an analysis of one superintendent. I don't have enough budget information between the two schools to find that information to do it, and I can do it, as can other people in this audience do it. But you know what? Everybody pulls together. We still need to do this. We don't need to blow anything up. There's no reason to do that right now. You have before the Board of Selectmen that's been working really hard, right? So I know there's a couple of them in here. So Board of Selectmen just saw 508 Main Street go forward to someone that's going to put up a $2 million project. We have Wallens Hill. We have 3 applications for that came in just before I got off the board. Those are multi-million-dollar developers that want to see the town go forward. We have the nursing home that now has a developer putting in apartments up there. So this is a pivotal time for the town. And when Shane talks about vision, by doing what Paul just asked you to do, that's how you look at a vision. You look at everything. You just don't close it off to one thing. You don't take those of you that haven't been on the board for a long time after 2.5 months and say multiple times during meetings that, well, you know, you're new and we gotta learn things. Take time to learn it. Take time to bring in a consultant. Bring in the Commissioner of Education. Bring in the analysis by a former superintendent who is not committed to one side or the other. Asking Dr. Luby to do this is like, hey, figure out this report and maybe take yourself out of the equation. How is that even fair? And how is it, if you don't have an independent person doing this work, then one side's not going to believe the answer or the other side's not going to believe the answer. If you have an independent person doing it, then you have a chance to do it right with people that will then pull together again, not split this town apart anymore, not do what the old Winston used to do. And I don't know if you all know this, but in 2021, I had a choice to make. We had an election, and even though it's not written in the charter, it's not written that way. It says the Board of Selectmen chooses the mayor. It doesn't say highest vote getter. It doesn't say any of that. So for those of you that are new, you know what I did for the community? I gave up the mayorship. I had the votes. But you know why I did it? I did it and gave it to Todd. He was the highest vote getter. I didn't want the community to split apart. I put the community ahead of me. And most people don't know that happened. And I'm asking you tonight to do the same thing. Put the community ahead of whatever it is that was happening out there. And I know it wasn't here at this board table. Do that for the community, do a comprehensive, independent analysis, and then we'll all be able to sleep better. Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to speak?
Brian Sunday, 152 Spencer Hill Road. I agree, I think, with what Candy Perez said and some of what Paul said and some of what some other people have said here too. I do think this motion is moving too fast. I'm fine with the idea of the study and doing all that stuff, but it does seem to me to pursue along, to move along the timeline that was suggested, to act her to do that, seems pretty reckless in my opinion. Also as reckless as trying to make decisions about bringing 7th grade back at the spur of the moment. These things, we can't do them in the heat of the moment. It has real world impact on the kids, and it just doesn't make sense to me. So I think if we're gonna do things like this, we have to do it in a deliberative way, take some time. The current timeline for me doesn't make sense. You know, I do agree we have a problem with that we need to solve in this town. And I'm not sure it's the Gilbert School problem, which I think is what Selectman Marino was alluding to. I think the bigger problem is in fact kicking the can down the road. At some point, we have to realize it takes money to do the things that we need to do in this town, whether it's run the schools, pave the roads. I know everyone doesn't want to pay more taxes. I don't want to pay more taxes, but to some degree, I feel like we are, some folks are living in a bit of a flat earth society where they think we can get this stuff done without money. Costs go up, we have to invest. And I also don't believe that we are gonna move the town forward by grinding everything in the ground. I keep hearing that we're on the cusp, we're gonna attract this or that. I'm not sure that these folks are looking at what's happening here over the last couple of weeks and thinking that the idea of a lack of investment is going to work for this town. So I do agree we have a problem to solve. I think we need to have a vision in terms of investment, how we move the town forward, not setting it back by grinding everything into the ground. So, and the final thing that I'll say about this motion and the 7th grade thing and about a variety of other things that I've heard, I'm not sure that any of the parents in this town or in this room, I could be wrong, I'm not sure that they want local officials to come in and blow up the school system. I think they want stability. I think they want a board that's working together, moving forward for the sake of the schools and for the town. And I think we've gotten the opposite. I think we're heading down the road of just trying to blow things up. It's not what I want. I think we're doing okay. But I do want you guys to work together for a solution, and hope you'll do so. Thank you.
Anyone else?
I'm reading statements on behalf of people who are not here, and I'll sign in for them afterwards. So the first statement, this is from Stephen Plumley and Holly Atkinson, 152 Grantville Road. As taxpayers, we're concerned about the process and timeline in the motion proposed in the agenda regarding restructuring. It is not at all clear that an expansion of Gilbert is in the best interest of the town or its taxpayers, families, students, or teachers. In addition, the decisions taken on this matter will affect Winchester for many years, potentially even decades. Therefore, it seems to us that the board should amend this motion in 2 ways. First, direct the superintendent to review and assess all options, not just the options currently in the motion. This would include at least continuing the current model with stronger contractual protections, bringing grades 7 and 8 back into the Winchester public school system, building a new public high school with state reimbursement support, leasing Gilbert facilities under Winchester Public Schools oversight, and any other legal or operational alternative that may emerge during the research. Second, the motion should be revised to allow sufficient time for a thorough analysis. 1 week is clearly not enough time to do what would be needed, such as analyze legal issues involving Connecticut State Statute 1034, evaluate the August 2025 designation agreement, Compare long-term taxpayer costs across multiple structural models. Consult counsel. Consult the town manager and the finance office. Model the potential impact on ECS and other grants. Evaluate special education service delivery. Assess labor, transportation, facilities, and administrative implications. Identify risks, dependencies, and implementation barriers. If the board is interested in a thorough, unbiased analysis, then at minimum, the motion should be amended to consider all options and to allow sufficient time to do so. If for some reason a majority of the board does not want that, then the result will likely hurt the town of Winchester, the taxpayers, families, students, and teachers who live and work here. Why risk needlessly damaging the town's growing reputation as a great place to live, work, and raise a family? This statement is from Hillary Johnson, 66 Monroe Place. I want to address one of the biggest issues in this entire discussion, state funding. So much of this discussion is really about state funding risk. A lot of people hear the phrase streamlining or unification and assume it means savings. But if Gilbert were to control pre-K through 12, Winchester could be putting a large amount of state education funding at risk. Why? Because Connecticut education funding is structured around public school districts. Winchester currently receives state aid because it operates as a public district for pre-K through 6th grade. If that structure changes and a private endowed academy takes control over the whole system, then the legal and financial basis for ECS and other public school funding streams could change too. Even if the loss is partial instead of total, the effect on taxpayers could be enormous. So before the board asks for any reconfiguration plan, the first question should be, what happens to state money? Not maybe, not we think, not someone said. We need an actual formal answer with data to back it up. This board should not move 1 inch towards structural reconfiguration until the town has a written analysis of the funding consequences from qualified state or legal sources. If you fail to ask that question first, then you are asking the town to walk blindfolded into a financial risk it may not be able to undo. That is why the motion needs to be struck and completely redrafted. Okay, I'm done with theirs.
Do you have your own, or you?
I might later, but.
Okay. Anyone else wishing to speak?
Hi there. My name's Will Mitchell. I live at 95 Millette Drive. I wasn't planning on saying anything tonight, but I came last week to listen to the discussion on the budget. And what I heard was just a lot of back and forth, but nobody really listening. I heard a lot of no's with no explanation of what you did want. I heard a lot of we need to make money or figure out ways to make money, but with never heard any ideas on what you needed to do. I heard a solid number, but without taking the felt like the kids weren't even being thought of. Now, my wife mentioned earlier that we have 2 special needs kids, and I've met a lot of these administrators and teams that work with them, and got to know them way too well. But they work hard. They care about the kids, and they need the support. And Dr. Julie understands that. Principal Silverio knows that. I mean, and to take her out of the equation and not have a principal for that school is, to me, just ridiculous. And I actually left last week because I got so disgusted with just nobody budging, nobody just cutting, but never, when it's not even really your job, it's the selectman's job to do that. Instead of taking her budget and letting them make that decision, you felt it was up to you guys. As far as this new proposal thing, I'm pretty sure you didn't open your business with 6 days of preparation, Shane. I know I didn't. Anybody who has, you can't do that in a week. And this is our kids, you know, it's our future of this town. I mean, you know, when we moved here, I loved it because it was a small town, and that's why I love it. But we got to work together, not just throw stuff at the wall and see what sticks. So appreciate your time. Thank you.
Anyone else?
It's nice to be on this side. Hi, everybody. I'm Jeanette Broder, 130 East Lake Street. People should know that when Julie Luby was hired as our superintendent for Winchester Public Schools, her excitement was palpable. She was so eager to work for Winchester that she bought a condo here to immerse herself in our small town. She wasn't provided housing like some other superintendents. She has gone above and beyond in presenting a responsible budget and answered all your questions with close attention to detail. Not only that, but she has tirelessly worked to increase funding by fighting for our needs in Hartford. This is not typical dedication you see in a superintendent. Members of this body and the last Board of Ed have routinely disparaged Dr. Luby in public meetings and on social media. It seems like a concerted effort has been made to discredit a person who has been delivering consistently strong work products, maintained strong school scores, and has responded to those who have routinely attacked her with grace and professionalism. If the Republican Board of Ed members plan to terminate Dr. Luby's contract and assign Mike Susi to take over the superintendent roles for WPS, the town will be responsible for paying Dr. Luby the remainder of her current contractual compensation of $400,000. Dr. Luby may also have grounds for a wrongful termination suit should such a termination occur. In my opinion, this board has treated her poorly and now wants her to do a study on how it would look if she eliminated her own position. Are you sure, are you for real? That's some shady happenings here. Not good, but Julie, I want you to know, if things don't work out and you need a letter of recommendation, many of us would be honored to write one for you. Thank you for all you continue to do for the town of Winchester.
Hello, I think most of you know me. I'm Cheryl Heffernan McGlynn. I was on this board for 6 years, starting in 2017. I am currently on the Board of Selectmen. It is very different to have such a young board. I mean, there's so many people on this board that have not sat for very long. In fact, even our chair has sat for, what, 3 years, maybe?
No.
4? Not even?
Not even close.
Not even, okay. So it's been a while. We have Nora Murkowski, who is got the institutional knowledge. We have a lot of new members. And I think what's very important for you all to understand is you can't make decisions without information. You need to do your research. You need to listen to the people that know what's happening. Now, I support most of what's been spoken to about that motion that's of the subject, but that's not what I'm speaking to you about. The other item on the agenda has to do with the Gilbert negotiations. And what I want to point out, and I have a copy I'm going to hand to Joseph and go around.
Thank you.
Much comment has been made about the need to have a long-term contract with Gilbert, and I don't disagree. It's the terms that matter. The State Education Department did a study back in 2023 when I was on the board. And that gets cited a lot about the reason for a need for a contract. But I wonder how many of you on this board have actually read it. Because when it's cited, it simply talked about how we need to have a long-term contract. The actual recommendation is, this is on page 5 of what I put in front of you, and I've also included not just the 6-page summary, but there's also an addendum. But I only included the one addendum that is relevant to the conclusions that were rendered. The department would recommend that the Winchester Board of Education and Gilbert School enter into a long-term legal arrangement that provides for a specific methodology for calculating regular and special education tuition. This will allow for better budget planning for both parties and has proven successful in the Salem-East Lyme relationship. That is the addendum that you'll see in what I provided. The arrangement could also include a provision for arbitration, mediation, in instances where they are necessary to achieve agreement versus a statutory change with mandates requirement for all the endowed academies. When tuition rates are set versus the proposed change in statute so require arbitration would allow the current situation to continue, but just provide a specific mechanism for resolution. So bottom line is, if you look at what the State Department of Education recommended is an equal partnership between Gilbert and the Winchester Board of Education, where you each have an equal voting on determining tuition, on determining the conditions. That is what was recommended, because that is what the arrangement in the Salem East Lyme contract is, which I passed in front of you. So if I know on the agenda, you're going to talk about the negotiations. I was involved in the negotiations to try to get a contract with Gilbert for several years during my 6-year tenure. The one thing Gilbert was never willing to agree on was any sort of calculation for tuition. Tuition was never to be discussed in a contract, which is exactly what the State Department of Education recommended in their study in 2023. Now, I have, I tried to look at the minutes for that meeting for the Gilbert Commission, and there's no information on it beyond there's an update. But as I've talked to Christine Ryder, who had attended the meeting, and my understanding is that the status quo remains. We're still not able to reach any agreement regarding any structure for tuition with Gilbert. We're still just, whatever they want to charge us, that happens. Now, you all have to understand, that statute that Gilbert operates under does not apply to 7th and 8th grade. There at least should be a contract for that. They cannot, under the law does not allow them to simply send us a bill. We have the right to negotiate that, and we should, at the very least. And if you're looking at sending more grades to Gilbert, that statute does not apply. There has to be proper legal agreement. And that's what we strove for back during my term. And it just never could happen. A lot of people think I'm anti-Gilbert. No, I'm anti-unfairness. This town deserves to be treated fairly. Our students should be united in obtaining equal treatment. This board should be concerned about all the students and making sure everyone gets treated properly, and it's done in a fiscally responsible way. What's been going on in this town for as long as I've lived here, which is only 10 years, doesn't make sense. And I was stunned. As an attorney for over 30 years, I have never entered into a more uneven negotiating system where you have no leverage. You have no give or take. It's just one side. And that is not what should be happening. So you are charged as a Board of Education to look after all of our kids. If you're going to continue with negotiations for a Gilbert contract, follow what the State Department of Education recommended. Look at that contract that East Lyme had. It makes sense. It's the Salem East Lyme contract. Do your job. Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to speak?
My name is Joe Casino, new to this town, 3 years. I'm a Navy veteran, I'm a disabled veteran. Some people know me. And what you're doing to the children of this town is unacceptable. Period. And stop. Do your jobs. I did 15 years in the Navy, went to school, went to college, got my degree, then I went to the VA and worked there until I retired. You people are not doing your jobs. You're not. Do your job. Damn it.
Anyone else? Anyone else wishing to speak?
I just got that email from.
Hold on.
Okay, Mary Ann Marino, 631 Vera Road. I want to echo a lot of what was said tonight about the motion seeming hasty and incomplete. But importantly, that process, whatever that process ends up being, can't move forward without public trust. And I think what we're hearing is that we're losing that. It's fragile. And I don't think it's because people are unwilling to have you guys discuss hard issues. I think it's just because the process has seemed rushed, it's felt closed, it's felt predetermined. And I think when residents feel that major decisions are kind of preemptively being made before the public has a real chance to understand the implications, they lose confidence in their electeds. So to echo what everyone else said, the board really does need to slow down and do the analysis right. A legitimate process would include clear public discussion of the motion, transparent scope of work, realistic timelines, we've heard that a lot, written analyses that the public can review as the work is being done, regular public updates, and the opportunity for residents to respond before conclusions are drawn. Because as we know, the issue affects every family, every taxpayer, every student in Winchester. And if the board wants the community to support your decisions or your eventual recommendations, then you really need to earn that support through transparency and building trust with the community. So, and really, the more significant the proposed change, the more open and methodical the process really should be. So, and the school budget issues for Winchester, they're real. We all know this, right? Because they're real, the response must also be real, not rushed, incomplete, or based on a preferred outcome. The motion, in my view, needs to be struck and redrafted so that any future reconfiguration plan is grounded in analyses and feasibility studies that are rooted in law, finance, educational data, operational realities, and public accountability. So that's what I have to say. Thanks.
Anyone else listening to speak? I'm gonna have you hold off till the second comment.
Sure.
What we're gonna do now, because we have students here, and we don't wanna keep them here, if no one else wishes to speak, we're gonna close public comment for now. You will have a second opportunity towards the end of the meeting to speak in public comment. I'm gonna ask that we move the student representative report ahead, so we can get these students out of here. Does anyone?
Do you want to pause public comment to let kids come through and then we go back to public comment? Because pushing it, I'm not sure is legal.
We have another opportunity at the end for public comment.
We do, but you have to ask whether people still want to speak at the beginning of this meeting, 3 times, if you will. So I understand the need to have students present. Well, my recommendation is.
We don't have anyone here that wishes to speak, and he has something to read that he can read.
Is that, I mean, are we done with public comment? Done?
Yeah.
I mean, that's fair game if we're done. I just want to make sure the public is done.
Does anyone else wish to speak? Not seeing any?
Okay.
Would like to move the student representative report before item 5. We have to make a.
You could, or you could
Make
just
a
invite the
second.
kids up.
Would somebody like to make a second? All in favor? Okay.
Joseph. Okay. Or Joseph, was that unanimous? Yeah, all right. Really?
Wait, what are we doing? That was fast. We're moving student reports up?
We're just doing the kiddos up top, because they gotta go home.
Okay.
It's their time.
Communications,
Yeah.
sure.
Was anybody
Okay.
objecting to that, or
No.
can I call that unanimous?
Yeah,
Signs are-
unanimous.
Thank you. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. Yes, we have Reese. Hi, Reese. Thank you for being so patient. You have to be super big and loud so we can hear what you say, okay?
Hello, my name is Reese. I'm in second grade. This month we have learned about Native Americans. The Native Americans traveled on the Trail of Tears. They traveled inside wagons, or they would walk or boat. The ways how they would stay safe is shelter, food, and health. In science, we learned about a solid, liquid, or gas. Water frozen equals solid. A cloud is a gas. One thing I'd like to see happen at Hinsdale is for more friends to include others so they don't feel left out. For more friends to listen when they are asked to do something. Thank you for having me.
Good evening, board members. Hello, my name is Gunnar Bednarz. I am in 6th grade. Students have been enjoying the indoor recess games and activities that the PTO purchased for every classroom. Teachers are gearing up for parent-teacher conferences next week. In 3rd grade in math, students are learning geometry and areas and perimeters of polygons. In language arts, students are reading nonfiction and studying how light and sound travel. In science, students are planning and carrying out investigations related to magnetism. In 4th grade, in math, the students are working on addition, subtraction of big numbers with regrouping. In language arts, students are reading vignettes, working on reading comprehension and aspiration stories, fiction or nonfiction. In science, students are working on mounds getting weather and erosion as stations. In 5th grade in math, students are dividing fractions by whole numbers and whole numbers by fractions. They are practicing simplifying fractions and converting improper fractions to make mixed numbers. In language arts, students are studying famous artists of the Renaissance, including artists such as Michelangelo, Leonardo da Vinci, Raphael, and Donatello. In science, students are studying how matter can change states by never disappearing. In 6th grade, in math, students are working on adding, subtracting, multiplying, dividing decimals using diagrams. In language arts, we are learning Greek mythology. We have read the story of Prometheus. We have read the Cyclops, working on Odysseus and how the Cyclops and all that works out, and Arachne, and we have read the story of Arachne. The Greek unit explores themes of humanity, pride, and power. And we got to act it out because we had Shakespeareans come, and that was really fun, and students enjoyed that. One great thing about Pearson, our teachers are always nice, helpful, and patient with students. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
As always, awesome job.
Thank you.
Okay, we are going to move on to item 5, approval of minutes. First, minutes of regular board meeting on February 10th, 2026. Anyone like to make a motion to approve those minutes or make amendments to those
Make a motion to approve those minutes.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? All right, moving on to item B, minutes of special meeting budget workshop, February 12th, 2026. Would anyone like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Shane?
Second.
Nora? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, minutes of committee meetings, February 24th, 2026. The Gilbert School Committee.
Make a motion.
Are you on that committee?
Oh, nope, sorry, not the committee. Looking at the wrong one.
He is, but he was not present.
No, you were not there, okay.
Carol, Chrissy, or Kurt can make that motion.
I'll make a motion.
All right, Carol?
I'll second.
Chrissy, all in favor? No, just, should be three.
306.
All right, Budget and Finance Committee?
That's Kurt, Ellie, Carol, Frank, Chrissy, and Joseph were there.
Anyone like to make a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Joseph? Second?
Second.
Chrissy? All in favor?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Is that what we had? 1, 2, 3,
Shane
4,
wasn't there.
5, 6. Good.
Okay.
6, 0.
All right, Policy and Bylaws. I think there was like 2 people on that one.
That would be Frank and Chrissy were there.
Make a motion.
Frank, would you like the second?
Yes, I would.
All in favor? All right.
That'll be 2, 0, 7 abstentions. Wonderful.
Okay, on to minutes of special meeting budget workshop, February 26, 2026.
We didn't do teaching and learning. I have it
Oh,
in the packet.
teaching
wrong
and learning.
order.
Oh,
Sorry.
okay.
That's Ellie, Chrissy, Joseph.
Teaching.
I'll make the motion.
Kelly?
Mm-hmm. I'll second.
Chrissy? All in favor? Great.
3, yeah, Frank, you're not on that one.
Frank's not on that one.
306.
Okay, minutes of special meeting budget workshop, February 26, 2026.
Make a motion.
Shane?
A second.
Nora? All in favor?
9, 0.
All right, minutes of special meeting budget workshop, March 3rd, 2026.
Keep it rolling, make a motion.
Nora?
Second.
All in favor? Okay.
You guys are awesome.
Well, that was easy.
Yeah.
All
So the
right.
guy who didn't have to make them all.
Moving on to item 6, communications. Chairperson's report. I want to speak to what has been going on via social media over the last couple of weeks. We have to be careful where we get our information from, because well, you have to know what's being put out there. There is a narrative, there is an agenda, there is a call to action, which is good. I wish the call to action garnered more people here in person. So all I ask is what you see online is not always the truth. I ask that you come in person or watch your meetings so you can make up your minds on your own instead of taking that to truth. I've got caught up in it in the past. I've looked at social media and I thought it would be it's the truth, and when I learned and got on the board, I learned that truth was false. So you have to make up your own decisions throughout this whole process, whether it's budget or anything else. Understand that what's being put out there can be a narrative or agenda from one side or another, and we gotta be careful of who we look at and who we believe. And I ask that you make your own decisions by watching the meetings or coming to the meetings in person. That is all. Okay, on to item C, superintendent's report.
Super, thank you. I'll just highlight some of the things in here. High quality instruction. We made a commitment at the beginning of this school year that we were gonna really stick to 2 key focus areas. We talk a lot about what high quality instruction is and how to really lift that up, and school climate, which is your restorative practices, your morning meeting. And so we had a professional learning day on Friday. Even that day, we had to have a delay because is the winter that won't quit. But we had an amazing day, and I just want to give a little shout out. We continued the work that we've been doing in high quality instruction by having a day focused around student agency, meaning kids as the leaders of their learning, really. And we were very lucky to have facilitators from Partners for Educational Leadership, which is a very highly regarded group around the state, and typically not an easy get. They run workshops. Our leadership team did a workshop last year of theirs, and we had a few people signed up for their new student agency workshop, and it was canceled. They lost their spot, it was rescheduled, it was canceled again, they lost their spot, and we reached out and we said, listen, we really want to do this, we'll get you a spot. And they said, we give up, but we're so thrilled that you're so interested. How about this, you want to be our guinea pigs? And so they came and they ran this workshop. If we sent our teachers individually and paid their tuition to attend, would have cost the better part of $30,000. And if we hired them to come here and do that work for us, they spent the whole day with us on Friday, and they're coming back for our half day in April. That would have easily been $5,000 to $10,000. And all they're asking of us is that we participate with enthusiasm and fill out their feedback surveys so that they can hone their workshops for the future. So it was a great day. Our staff was really engaged and just so eager and working to really make sure that our classrooms allow kids to be the leaders of their learning. I won't say a word about drones because you heard a lot about that. Last week, on the days that we actually had school, we were able to celebrate Read Across America Week and did all kinds of fun literacy-based activities. We had Hat Day, we had Read in Your Pajamas and flashlights, and it was all about the books, and it was really great. And finally, tomorrow, there is no snow in the forecast, so tomorrow should be our guest reader opportunity. I think some of you are coming. I know I'm reading, I think in 4th grade. So it stands to be a great day. Operationally, weather permitting, now students' last day is Thursday, June 18th, then staff's last day is June 19th. I will fight really hard not to bump everyone into the following week. We'll see what the weather does. We finally got released from the state the information that we will receive, we have to fill out grant requests, but we will receive $59,000 under what is now called DRIP funding, which stands for District Repair and Improvement. And the really great thing about that is we'll get that $59,000 in this fiscal year, and it's a grant that's been funded for 2 years. What's lovely about that is when we submitted our budget request to the town, town manager did inform me that our town support for education line was gonna stay flat, same number as 2 years ago still, and the capital money came out of the budget. So that roughly $120,000 will serve us well for some of the repairs we need to do. Also, as I know I shared with you, when I went to Hartford and I met with Senator Larson's chief of staff as well as the governor's chief of staff, Senator Larson was moved by our budget woes and sent us information for a federal grant program called Community Projects, I think it was. So the town has submitted a grant application basically for the capitals for the school district. I submitted a letter of support. I also am going to do that grant application. I'm working with Kathy to pull together the things that we removed from the budget, the BCBA, the special ed, the paraeducators, and pull that together in a proposal about like a 3-year plan to develop a really strong autism program in K2, with the idea that if we were granted this money, we would slow roll it using that grant money to fully fund it and then gradually bring pieces into our own appropriate budget so that when the grant is gone, the program can continue. So I will likely be I have to get this in by the end of the day Thursday. So community letters of support, particularly from elected officials, bump your grant score, I'm told, by Town Manager Harrington. So I'll be asking you to sign a letter And we're reaching out, Kathy's trying some of her special education contacts at the state level, and we're gonna give it our best shot, because those were important things, and where there's a will, there's a way. I also have sent a proposed amendment to Jay Case and Steve Harding, as well as to Representative Leeper, who chairs the Education Committee, as well as to the Governor's Chief of Staff, that proposes an amendment to the ECS formula that includes a poverty measure, the distressed municipalities score, that if it actually got picked up and approved, would bring the town about $1.2 million in increased ECS funding. It feels like a really big Hail Mary long shot, but I have been told that 2-3 years ago, someone else did something like that and it actually made it, so no harm in trying. They may be giggling at me up in Hartford, but I can live with that. The budget has been submitted to the town manager. The adjustments were made. The final total was reduced by the $500,000. Generally speaking, that was the new positions, one teaching position, enrollment driven, and the adjustments that you saw, and it got to like $11,000 gap. And so with the $11,000 gap, for the moment at least, we've just pulled that out of the salary line, and we're counting on the likely scenario that some two people leave who are higher up on the pay scale, and we hire brand new folks. That's called turnover savings. So we don't think it's too risky to count on that. Also, I would consider those changes to be firm draft changes, because we don't know what will happen at the Board of Selectmen level, and if it stays like that, what we've done is probably where we are, although if any, and when we did hear the health insurance isn't gonna get better, that came today. But once we have a number after the Board of Selectmen, we'll make some more final determinations on what's gotta go and stay. Quickly on the principal search, we have 30+ applicants, so that's going in a great direction.
Great.
Instructional rounds will be in late March, and in this second round of instructional rounds, 4 students will accompany staff going in and out of classrooms with a research question, so we're excited about that. Also, how can you study student agency if you don't let kids help you study it, right? So, and we had great FOIA training, so on both records as well as meetings, and the state agency for FOIA is great. And I'll stop right there.
Julie, what's the timing on the updated amendment ECS formula poverty measure 1.2 million maybe gift?
So if that were happening, we wouldn't know it until first, second week of May. I think if it got an traction, or if anything were happening, we'd probably have an indicator that it's looking good before that, but until the governor's budget is done, we wouldn't know. I think before we've been to town meeting, if we got great news that changed the way the Board of Selectmen felt about decisions they made, I suspect they could always call a meeting and make a change before we've been to town meeting.
Okay.
I'm making that up, but
right.
I don't think there's anything that disallows that.
The autism program, the idea of the K2,
yeah,
that's for our kids. Are you looking at that as attracting also kids from other districts?
If we had the capacity, I will tell you that what we're designing is for 25 children who live here and go to our schools currently.
Okay.
So across 2 classrooms. So I don't know that that would necessarily allow us to take other kids. But, you know, if you build it, they will come. If we get something really great and strong going, I don't think it would be crazy to think that in time we could fan it out by taking some of the people who've had that great training and start to like create another classroom. But initially, we have enough of our own kids that will more than fill a program.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, moving on to item D, committee reports. First report is Budget and Finance Committee. That committee met for a good 2 hours, I would say, more along the lines of preparing for the budget voting that we were getting ready to work up for the next week. The one thing I will add is Carol Kiak updated us that the truck that she was getting for us has been upgraded to a 2020.
It's a 2019, but the other one has like 227,000 miles. Still good.
Yeah.
This one has 55.
55,000.
So the value of it went.
Perfect, so thank you for that.
Carol, you'll let me know if you need,
Yeah.
like, insurance stuff.
Yeah, they have to move it, get the plow on it. So, I'll keep you posted.
Does the board have to approve it, make action?
To receive it?
I thought only you had to.
Right, so I have to tell the board
Okay.
that we're accepting that kind of donation, but you don't actually have to approve it.
Okay.
So, consider yourselves told.
Item 2, Teaching and Learning Committee.
Yes, so our Director of Teaching, Learning, and Early Childhood, Mrs. St. Hilaire, shared with us some iReady data. iReady testing is done 3 times a year. It's helpful to identify individual students' needs, but also can point out issues with curriculum, so it's really helpful testing. She also shared that the scores did support need for reading interventionists and math interventionists. We also, let's see, we also talked about information gained from a student climate study that was done. And 2 really great things, 92% of the students say that the morning meeting is a really positive and great way to start the day, which I will echo, my own daughter loves it. And 93% of students say that they have a grown-up at school who will help them if they have a problem, whether it's social emotional, whether it's educational, really anything. So I think that is evidence that our teachers are doing a really wonderful job.
Item 3, Policy and Bylaw Committee. I know, Jonathan, you were absent, but
Yes.
do you have it?
I said I was not present. Committee has some policies for deletion tonight and some for first read. And I also wanted to thank the committee and Julie for their continued service as I was out due to a personal family matter at the time.
Perfect. And the Gilbert School Committee, I gave a update at the time. There was really no update on the status of the idea of bringing back 7th grade because we tasked the head of school Luby, or head of school Susie, to come up with some numbers on what it would take to bring 7th grade back. He had not at that time provided those or had the time to provide those. So we didn't have any update on that. And then we gave some updates on the current contract negotiation, which is kind of stalled because of the budget process. But we gave some scenarios within the negotiation of what has been agreed upon, what's still in discussion of being agreed upon, and what has so far been considered a no as far as what Gilbert is willing to do on that side of it. So we have an update on that as well. Okay, moving on to item E, liaison report, Gilbert School Corp.
All right, so various policies were approved. 9020, public statements. 9030, commitment to democratic principles in relation to community, staff, and students. 9040, board-related responsibilities. 9110, classes of directors, terms of office. 9132, standing committees. 9133, ad hoc committees. 9140, board representatives. And 9222, resignation, removal from office / censure. We also passed 2 important motions regarding food services. Michael Susi is also approved to be labeled as our registered agent. The Secretary of the State had Mr. Shagru as the agent, and we fixed that last meeting.
Thank you. All right, moving on to item 7, which is action items as we move items 7 and 8 around, so we're moving on to action items. And we also moved, we added an action item to be item A, being sending drone team to regional competition.
Super. So by board policy, a field trip, I can approve regular field trips, but a field trip that is longer than 1 day requires board approval. This is sort of like a preliminary. I'm gonna ask you to approve it in concept, and I can always come back with some finer grained detail later. At this moment, we have 2 teams that we are hopeful may in fact be able to compete in the Northeast Regional Competition. It's a 2-day competition in West Virginia, which I'm still not convinced is Northeast, but okay. So if that works out, before we get the kids all excited, I really wanted to have that conversation with you guys. We did send teams to the Northeast Regional Competition 2 years ago when the last time that we were having a drone team and met with success. It would look like we would send 2 chaperones, and we would send the 2 or 4 kids that qualify. I'm told West Virginia is a flight, not a drive, when you're there for just a 2-day competition. So we did some really quick math just to get a sense of what we'd be talking about. And we think it would be less than $5,000 to send 4 kids, the airfare for 4 kids. There are 4 boys, so they would share a hotel room, and we would have hotel room for the chaperones. My math is really loose, but if you figured even $500 plane tickets times 4 kids, you're at $3,000 with the chaperones. Hotel room, figure $200-300, 2-3 rooms, depending on who goes as the chaperones. My thought is that we would do some fundraising, and my thought was this is completely unbudgeted. We're paying to run the activity through CHAMPS, which the CHAMPS grant came in like $30,000 under what we expected. So CHAMPS can't pay for it. My thought was if we need to come up with $5,000 with your blessing, I'd like to recommend we pay for that out of the 440 line. Yep. I think we should 100% send the kids. The pride is worth the pennies. And I feel confident Renee, as the coach, is willing to go, which is a big ask of people because it's, you know, several days away from your home and your families and all of that, but she's willing to do it, so I know the kids will be in good hands. She, like I, is a veteran of taking kids on trips and knows all the secrets about putting Scotch tape across hotel room doors and things. And they are 5th and 6th graders, so some of the worries when you take high schoolers on trips just aren't even a thing. But I guess I would ask, would somebody be willing to make a motion to approve that in concept now? And if you voted yes for that, then we'd know that if they want to go and are invited to go, that we can go ahead and start working on that.
I'll make the motion. I'll second that.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Thank you.
Okay, on to item B, policies for possible deletion.
Yes. Okay. As you all know, we are, packet's a little out of order, sorry. We are working our way through our transition from Magnet Home School, here we go. From CABE policies to Shipman policies. And as we do that, when we adopt a new policy, we just delete the one that it embraces. But with a few exceptions, there isn't a Shipman policy. And switching around caught me a little off guard. Give me 1 second. I have my notes from the lawyer here. So the first policy that we're recommending for deletion was, that is our attorney's recommendation. Here we go. When asked about this policy, this is 5122.3, there is no Shipman policy. It is not a required policy. And you'll recall that our attorney's advice is if you're not required to have a policy, you don't. We only have a policy regarding admission to the public schools at or before age 5. We have that policy. They recommend deleting this policy and just having regulations or procedures regarding these circumstances. This really, especially in an elementary district, is just like not a thing. It's about if a parent comes in and says, I've been homeschooling my child, they're 8 years old, and I think they're a third grader. We start with what the parent tells us. We typically would do some type of iReady testing just to get a sense and make sure that they're appropriately placed, but it isn't something that having a policy changes our practice. We do not, it's not an issue, and this is not a required policy. So Shipman's recommendation is carry on in the absence of that policy. Similarly, the magnet school participation policy, Shipman's recommendation is there is not a Shipman policy, and it is also not a required policy. We recommend deleting and maintaining regulations or internal procedures. This one is largely a moot point because since the time that this policy was adopted in 2007, laws have been passed that say if you wish to do less magnet school participation, there's a formula, and it has something to do with like the average of your 3 most recent years. So we couldn't just stop allowing kids to go to magnet schools even if we wanted to, which we don't. So the policy is a moot point because there's law that dictates our practices, and for all intents and purposes, we allow kids to go where they choose to go. We do not have a practice of telling kids sorry.
Do you want a motion for deletion for separate?
You could do them separately or together, whatever makes you happy.
I'll make a motion to delete policies 5122.3 and 5117.2.
Do we have a second? Second. Chrissy, all in favor? Frank?
I'm sorry.
Okay, good.
9-0.
All right.
Thank you all.
Okay, on to item C. We have a motion for direction to superintendent to develop a comprehensive plan with Gilbert. Jonathan, you set forth this motion.
May I do an amendment, Mr. Chairman?
Well, let's how about we get your rationale behind the original motion?
Sure. This motion was intended as a necessary response to a critical budgetary situation, aimed at assisting the current situation with a fiscally viable and educationally seamless model. By eliminating redundant administrative costs, the plan seeks to redirect resources toward classroom instruction and specialized programs while increasing eligibility for state grants and departmental support. Beyond the financial benefits, the rationale emphasizes improved student outcomes through a unified educational continuum, enhanced career pathways for teachers, and it is especially our wish, a more robust special education environment that keeps students within their local community. It defends the role of the independent Gilbert School as a strategic asset, not a liability, arguing that its unique flexibility from certain state mandates allows for a tailored approach that fosters institutional pride and long-term excellence for the town.
Okay, so that's your rationale. Can you read the full original motion for us?
Yes. Motion that the Board of Education directs superintendent to develop a comprehensive written expansion plan for the potential expansion of the district's contracted services with the Gilbert School, aimed at creating a more unified and streamlined educational model that improves collaboration across grade levels and strengthens student and community pride. This plan shall include a feasibility study and phased implementation timeline for additional grade levels, a detailed description of student support and special education services, and a thorough financial analysis, specifically comparing the costs of in-house versus contracted services and analyzing the 2026-2027 fiscal year budget requests to identify operational efficiencies and potential revenue from state grants. The superintendent is authorized to engage with representatives of the Gilbert School and legal counsel on an expedited basis, provided no binding commitments are made without prior board authorization, and shall present the final plan to the board no later than Monday, March 16th, 2026.
Okay. There's a lot there.
Indeed.
Okay. Curious as to, you can interpret this a lot of ways. So what ideally is this motion looking to do?
It is to have Superintendent Luby look into other avenues, to possibly look for a more cohesive building relationship with the Gilbert School, and to see what plan can be done.
Okay. Beyond what we're currently doing with Gilbert.
Yes.
Okay. Before we talk about amendments or anything, does anyone have discussion about the initial motion?
Are we viewing that as a motion that has been made?
Right,
Oh.
so that is a motion that is made. Do we have a second?
I'll second for discussion.
Okay, we have a second for discussion. So we will open this original motion up for discussion before we get to any potential amendments. Does anyone have any questions concerning the original motion that is on the table?
I have questions about its seemingly incongruousness to it and the vague elements of the thing. So
It leaves it to interpretation,
sure
right?
does. Expansion plan for the potential line 2 expansion of the district's contracted services with the Gilbert School. Expansion of the district's contracted services. Is that looking into Winchester absorbing the Gilbert School because that's expansion, or is it Gilbert taking the Winchester schools because
Or
that
is
could
it
be
just-
expansion? Because this could read as Winchester schools in the bus, driving the bus.
Or is it just,
It would be a plan that Superintendent Luby would come up with Gilbert, and ideally they would present to us in a timely manner. And if there wasn't enough time, then we would extend it possibly by a year, and it would be a collaborative effort.
Well, I think tonight we heard from a lot of people. A lot of community members are very concerned about a variety of questions that are unknown. Operational efficiencies, not sure exactly what that means. The concern about state grants, where will grants be? Visiting lawyers and attorneys throughout this process. Additional grade levels is still vague. So, and the timeline is not feasible. I don't believe that it's something that is something a superintendent charged with also presenting a budget is an appropriate motion for our direction going forward. The rationale underneath it reads like it's another goal, but I'm not sure if that's what you mean, for it to sit there, or is it part of the actual motion, directing Julie in that motion for something about eliminating redundant administrative costs. Department support in the rationale too. I know you didn't read that as part of the motion. I'm not sure what departmental support meant in the rationale. Redirecting resources towards classroom instruction and specialized programs. I know that's part of your rationale. So there's a lot of ambiguity here. And I see this as not cogent for our community and for our direction. And the last bit of the rationale, which probably alerts most of us here, is unique flexibility from certain mandates would make this district certainly legally untenable, in a position that is legally not sustainable for us. We're a public school. We're guided by the state of Connecticut. We're an LEA of the state of Connecticut. We're not created by local government. We've been created by the state. We certainly have to follow those state mandates. So I think it's overly broad, and because of it, it's not clear and the timeline is not feasible.
anyone else?
I'd like to say that I don't think our superintendent, Dr. Luby, should be responsible for these studies. I think she's got enough on her plate already. And I think that we need to provide an outside, unbiased opinion. We can't have anybody influencing this decision from the inside. This is an opportunity to finally work on this and get this agreement done. I think the whole town would agree that we need to figure it out, but we want to make sure that it's an equal opportunity for all potential situations. And I don't think Dr. Luby or anybody in Winstead, Winchester should be doing this research.
Anyone else?
I guess I would just have a question. Who specifically? Do you have anybody in mind?
An outside consultant. I'm not sure exactly what kind of consultant. I'm not sure. I'm sure Dr. Luby may have an idea of who would be able to do this, but
I think it would probably be a combination. I would imagine maybe you use someone either like CABE, the Connecticut Association of Boards of Eds, to sort of facilitate. No doubt they would consult attorneys. They probably have people who are very familiar with school finance within them, so they might be a good choice. There's also a group called the School and State Finance Project that does a lot of great analysis. I would say that if I were figuring out who was in charge, those are probably the first two calls I would make. And I think they'd be reaching out to the commissioner with questions, like, no one person is gonna have the
Yes.
answers, but they could facilitate the research.
how to do it, yeah.
With obviously working with both Mike Susi and myself, because there'd be information needed from the districts to make it work.
I mean, Shane, you talked about vision, right? And
Sure.
back in, gosh, it must have been April, we were talking about a bunch of different things, and then it popped into a conversation that led us to August. And I think every possible vision should be on the table. In fact, I don't want to put us in a pocket that excludes some creativity. You guys don't know, but there was a former Board of Ed member who served with us and actually had an out-of-the-box thinking moment that was shared with the board, and it's public record, about sharing some sort of finance committee, and districts could not move forward until, and it was a joint effort that, and members could check each other's contracts, and it was really very thoughtful, and it was just out-of-the-box thinking. So I think that this pigeonholes us too narrow. And the creative thinking from a board member, I think, needs to be embraced, if you will, from the past, and it could be something that could be part of this discussion. Because I think it's important that the community knows that we have everybody's interests in mind, and thinking outside the box would be part of that.
I think that's apt. But specifically, so we're talking about specifics, so what does that look like? That was kind of vague. So what would you be speaking to specifically?
I would direct Dr. Luby to find that third person, if you will, that out-of-pocket person that could probably lead the charge. And then the scope of this could be all feasible possibilities. I would say that the scope certainly includes a new high school, but I worry about that. I mean, we've been talking about that as an audience, but I worry about that because that may not necessarily include Gilbert, right? Because we've talked about tradition, and I'm fearful that a new high school, although albeit should be part of the table and part of the conversation, could lead to the demise of the Gilbert High School system. I think regionalization should be a conversation, because here's the reality. Populations are dropping throughout the state of Connecticut. I now serve on Ed Advance's Board of Ed. They supervise about 31 other, or they look at 30 other and work with 30 other districts. 28 of those 31 are losing population. So we are also losing population. Gilbert's losing population. I think Winchester's relatively stable, but the Northwest Corner in general and the state of Connecticut in general, I think this is a area of where it's the law of diminishing returns, in the sense that you and we all have to have the responsibility of bringing forward a program that effectively educates all of our kids into the 21st century. They're not going to be living in Winstead, I'm sorry. Some will, but they're going to be commuting internationally. They're going to be working internationally. They're going to be Zooming internationally. To create programs is far more complicated financially for our town. Our taxpayers are hurting. So I think we have to look at our program as a whole, and when you regionalize, that allows you to handle programs and offer the needs and give the programming that kids have. Because, I like to say, like, you can't have a club of 3 kids, right? You can't have a ball team with just 5. So it's that reality of diminishing returns, right? So that should be part of the table, is a conversation about what would regionalization look like, i.e. Region 21, right? That's a long-term project, but I don't want to stop anybody's creativity, because, you know, part of that pile should be what a former board member also offered, which I thought was really out-of-the-box thinking. These are bits and pieces that should be part of it.
I just think we should get what we should be ending up with in SUNY for is a unified school district. Now, talking about high schools, building high schools or not building high schools, we have a building here. It's a quarter of a block away from the house schools. That's why I can't see spending money on reconfiguring actual physical structures when the structures are here. We should use, our plan should be around the structures that are within the confines of the town of Winchester. Not going for band expense and bond issues for 25 years for $80 million or $120 million. We have the infrastructure here, let's use it. And come up with a plan that is within the bounds of the town of Winchester and what we have, what resources do we have in that town to make a better education from preschool through 12th grade.
A consultant can put all that together for us.
So, if I'm hearing you correctly, and I think this is one of the, maybe the cruxes of the issue, is that exploring just one facet is not, you know, serviceable or agreeable to the entirety of the board. So, is there verbiage or a motion that would go forth? Because I think action, taking action, and I've been reminded of the fact that I spoke of vision. I still believe in that. I think we should be able to come up with something collectively as a board that speaks to not just, you know, outside the box thinking. I love that. But we should have a little bit of direction going forth, right? We do have a...
So let's narrow this.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
I have an amendment.
Okay.
So I move to amend the motion by replacing the directive to develop an expansion plan focused on the Gilbert School with a directive to the superintendent to prepare a comprehensive written study examining potential long-term models for Winchester Public Schools. The study shall be conducted with the assistance of an independent, qualified third-party consultant or organization to ensure an objective and thorough analysis. The study should include feasibility analyses, financial reviews, and potential phased implementation timelines for expansion of the district, number one, expansion of the district's contracted services with the Gilbert School. Number two, the feasibility and implications of Winchester Public Schools assuming operation of the district's secondary education program. Number three, the feasibility, cost, and timeline associated with constructing and operating a district-run high school. The amendment further requires that the study include potential changes to federal and state grant revenue and any challenges from state and federal law or town statutes. The consultant is authorized to engage with the superintendent, representatives from the Gilbert School, the Winchester Town Manager, and legal counsel. The amendment also adds that if additional feasible scenarios emerge during the course of the study, the superintendent shall include them in the analysis and present them to the board for consideration. Finally, the amendment replaces the deadline of March 16th, 2026, with a requirement that the finalized study be presented to the board on September 8th, 2026. The superintendent will provide updates at monthly meetings during the duration of the study.
Did everyone digest that?
There's a lot, but it was good.
Yes, please.
Did you just write that?
So,
just on the fly.
You just write that?
No, I didn't just write it right now.
That'd be pretty
And
cool.
she made
Have that
copies.
printed.
Yeah,
She made copies on the
and I
fly,
made
too.
copies right now.
so,
So there's three
Have to
scenarios.
take notes on all
yeah,
that.
but before,
Go ahead.
so you made an amendment, so are we?
So you would need a second on it.
So we have anybody for a second?
I would second that.
I want to read it.
And then discussion.
Yep, we are open to discussion.
Okay, so, I love it, I think and when I say I love it, I love so, first off, I know we're in this, speaking of the motion, I think, one of the things that I really appreciate, so, not to reiterate or to repeat myself, but this will be my third budget season. I would say this is probably the most public comment that I've seen up to this point, and I appreciate that. I think differing opinions / viewpoints, whether I'd like to hear something or not, I think it's all good to be able to. It's part of being part of a town, and I love that. So not to sidebar because we're talking of this motion, because there's a lot of things that were brought forth. And I think with this particular motion, my first question would just be, so when we talk about an outside entity or someone that is unbiased, do we have any great job writing this up, but do we have any cases or any similar situations that have been explored? I know we have a unique situation, but when a town, so for instance, again, coming from, we are in a different position, but if we looked at towns, a different situation, but if you look like a school like Lakeview, they pooled multiple towns together. You're talking about regionalization. I don't think they were technically regionalized, but when they had that, what are situations where we have an outside entity that have done this? Does anybody have that as an example? Do you know of any? Because
Ed Advance is, at one point, we had Ed Advance looking into us, and they backed away.
Okay.
Person in charge of that would be Jonathan Costa. But there's retired superintendents that often do gig work that I think through Julie's networking, perhaps she can find somebody that would be interested enough in gig work. I mean, Freeman Burr. No, I'm just kidding. But, he's been around with us for a very long time. But needless to say, there could be a superintendent, a retired person like that.
And CABE would be a great resource for that. I do think as the Association of Boards of Ed, they have the ear of the commissioner. Fran Rabinowitz is the penultimate educator in the state, and she heads that group. I feel like we want to stay name brand, if you will, in the sense that we need someone who's going to have access. There are going to be questions like, what does the endowed academy status allow you to do, that only Commissioner Russell Tucker can answer. And I think staying with either a CABE would honestly be my first choice, although I've not explored it. When we had Mary come do our retreat, she was CABE. Nick Caruso, who does our board training, CABE. They have a huge, I hate the word stable, but it's the only thing coming to mind. They have a huge cadre of people that they could choose to call upon, and then I'm not picking a person. We're just going with a reputable agency that understands school law, basically.
So, because my only concerns when I see this, or the first things that pop out to me, I agree with we shouldn't rush through any of this, but one of my concerns, and it's been, again, reiterated to me by many tonight, the fact that I'm a business owner, and when I look from a business perspective, because you also look at, it's easy to get spread out, and then all of a sudden, because we're talking about, we have a momentum towards our town is moving forward. While we don't want to rush the process, we do not want to, I don't want to say rest on our laurels or allow time to work against us. I do believe that we should explore as many options on the table, but I think that in order to solidify what is reasonable on this, right, of those three that you presented, is there one or multiple that just aren't feasible, right? So when you talk about feasibility studies, we're talking 6 months down the road, and then we get, so that wasn't even feasible. So my kind of again, worry would be, not even worried, but just, I want to make sure that we're moving forward with this, and 6 months will pass fast, right? That'll definitely move fast. We're going through budget season. But again, like I said, the only thing that I would be interested in is to get to the reasonableness of what if this actually has validity? What if this is viable as an option? And then when we get into, okay, maybe only 2 of these are viable, then we don't need to rush to a decision. But again, it's easy to be complacent because you see tons of people have business ideas, right? And then what takes place is they have those ideas, but then those ideas never get brought to fruition. because a little bit too much of, well, what I would like to call pie in the sky ideas. So that would be my one concern. That would be just the timeline. I'd want some sort of, like a sooner, whether we had like a reconvene in a month or 2 months or something like that, right?
I did just that the
The-
superintendent would provide the
updates, for sure.
Yeah, monthly meetings.
So I would say this, that if one of these options is deemed not viable throughout this process, that'll be presented to us, and we can move away from that one and focus on the ones that are more viable, and just keep moving forward until we find the best option. And if there's other options that are presented throughout this process that are not here, you know, sure.
I
But-
think I hear you saying, not just progress updates, like things are going nicely, but viability, like as things are being ruled in, ruled out as options, that you're hearing progress notes of, so this has been considered, it's still possible, it's still being looked at, this has been considered, this is off the table because this, and sort of like,
Yeah, so remove.
so you know what's on and off the table all the
remove
time.
the things that are
Because things could come on the
distractions
table
throughout the process, yeah.
after 3 months, when one door closes, you know, another door opens, and you're like, oh, we can't do that, but, so, that could be a moving target, and we could be updating on that.
And I think just kind of going back to, like when we look at the original motion on the table, I think one of the things that does tend to get lost is, I think, in public, and I've seen it a bit on social media and differing viewpoints. I think one of the biggest things that's missed here, and I thought it was great that a member of the public brought it up tonight, was the fact of the study that was done in 2023.
The commissioner did that, yeah.
Chairman Kurt has had the opportunity to sit with the commissioner. There is I think that's why that was put out there from a motion perspective. The commissioner felt it important for us to not just have a contractual agreement of some sort. So I think, again, that should be one of the main points, and I think that's why that was brought forth, is because, again, we've been admonished by someone. When you want to talk about someone that knows our district well, the commissioner knows it very well. In fact, our state representative, Jay Case, had a lot to say about that because he saw it firsthand. He's communicated with her a lot, and she was very well informed on our situation. She wasn't speaking from a place of not knowing our particular situation. So I think when we look at the original motion and then looking at that, my only, again, just going back to, if we put a little bit of verbiage in there that spoke to the fact of some of timeline accountability. I know there's a monthly, but just speaking to that kind of, again, some verbiage that gets in there. If it's not a viable option, whatever's presented here, we can not waste time and.
Well, I think we're trying to do the job of the consultant right now. Part of the job of the consultant is to figure out the timeline, because, I think what we have to make sure is that, this is gonna take some special Board of Ed meetings, and I think we need to make sure that in the phases of the process, we direct this consultant to say, listen, here's our immediate timeline. At the end of this presentation, say by September 8th, let us know where we are. We would have the right to then motion for further conversation based upon what they present. But I think we need to have an expectation there's gonna be special board meetings with public comment. That's important to bring back the trust into what we're doing, so they know what we're doing, so that there's no conversations on the side. I am encouraged that the town is suggesting, at least one person suggested tonight, that the Board of Selectmen pay for the study. I think that's really great.
Did someone say that? That's great.
I think somebody did, and so I think that's pretty helpful. But I think, remember, it's just a report, right? So we can decide what to do on the 8th as a board to further X study or Y study. And that's the summer, and I think that's an important time in which much stuff can get done.
So the one thing also, so if we're, again, going back just to timelines, do we have a timeline in here for picking a consultant? Because that, again, leaves a lot open to interpretation.
Superintendent.
I would hope to do that right away.
So we would direct, if we pass a motion tonight, that would be her directive.
Okay.
So
this falls in line with the current MOU we signed when we became board members in November also.
You mean the designation?
Yes.
That would be
Which the
part of the
state-
analysis.
And the state is working on that to make, right? That was the first step, allowing the state to move forward to designate.
That's just for capital.
That was for
capital,
capital
but I'm
improvement.
saying
and
that's- That's still moving forward that way.
No, that's just kind of done. It's just a designation that we had to give to get, so
done.
Gilbert could get a grant for the capitalizations up there.
But it also gives Hartford that, for capital purchase, for capital construction,
Improvements. Mhm.
we're together with that, with Gilbert.
Yeah,
That's
it's
in
already
play
done.
until
That's
things
in play.
change.
That's what I'm saying.
That's in play until things change.
That's moving in the same direction this week.
Yes, and there are no
So-
capital projects right now,
No,
so
but
Yeah.
I'm just saying, that's,
that's still there.
So I like this. This is great. Just two little caveats. I feel like September is pushing it. I feel that's nearing the end of the year, nearing the next budget season. So, if we get this, passed, it leaves us less time until we have to make the final decision for 27, 28. I feel a May or June hard deadline would be better.
that's right
Which
around the corner.
I know, but it would give us more time to, explore further options. And also, I'm all for number 1 and number 3, but the second with option of Winchester assuming operations, that I don't know legally how that would,
Well, that's what we're gonna find out.
But remember, we're not acting on, in
Yeah,
the
I
sense
know.
that we're
Yeah,
not
this
doing
is just part of
this,
the
right?
study
Okay.
could tell us
To
otherwise.
tell us.
We don't know.
Okay,
That's
yeah,
what we're gonna
'cause,
find
I
out.
don't know
Yeah,
if
that's
legally
what
if
we're
we're
gonna
able
find
with our
out.
MOU and things like
And the
that.
community said to us, don't rush this. You heard that a lot tonight.
Right,
Yeah, let's get it done
So,
right.
so May is not feasible either.
So let's
You know
get
what
it
I'm
done
saying?
right.
We're still operating a building. She's gotta shut down the whole place. Observations have to happen amongst the faculty members. Julie's gotta work, right? So, hiring somebody now, what is this, March who? I mean, you gotta find a person talented, willing, and that takes some networking. You gotta give her space to be able to do that. Meanwhile, we got this budget, right? And that is a whole nother animal. So, that summer breath, at least can get something in the works, and then when you sit here on September 8th, you could say, continue.
That's right.
You always can say continue, and I think that's important. And it says finalized study,
So, and
But-
then final thing, what about cost? Like proposed cost?
we would have to authorize Julie to negotiate a
Sure.
contract.
So, but again, speaking to maybe something you've seen in the past, again, unique situation, but there's has to be something, again, it may be preemptive, but again, before we approximated, right, ballpark.
So I think you're gonna have legal costs, for sure, because our attorneys will have to weigh in, just on Endowed Academy law and things like that. I would venture to guess that a consultant, and I am absolutely guessing, might charge $30,000. I mean, I'm totally making that up, but when you think about the amount of.
For the first month or?
No, I mean, you're gonna get,
Project-based.
you're gonna get a
It'll be
project cost
project-based,
with
not by hour.
contingencies. Anyone who is experienced at this, as a person we would use would be, is gonna write a proposal that says, this is the scope of work, and if we, as the process goes on, if other ideas emerge, it could be add-ons, but I think, anyone doing this is going to do it with the thanks of the commissioner, and I think, unlike certain times where you kind of throw yourselves out at the mercy of the wolves, I think we're likely to be treated with goodwill. We are the Rubik's Cube of the state that people would be thrilled to find a resolution and help us solve. I know we will have the support of the commissioner in that. I'm totally making up a number like 30, 35,000.
Yeah,
I don't think it would be horribly worse than that.
Really?
I don't know,
would think-
Frank.
I'm-
I wouldn't charge us more than that if you asked me to do
thinking
it.
of consultants.
It doesn't matter, the selectmen
in
said
New
they
York,
would pay
Frank.
for it.
That's what I heard.
That's the game of
Paul
telephone, right?
Marino, nice check, everybody.
That's all it took.
Did they really say it?
I would think
The
no.
other, listen, Oh, you're out. I don't wanna get stuck and hung up. What we could just simply say is to authorize Julie to move into a direction to find a consultant, negotiate a contract that the board approves.
Yes. And then we go from there.
Right, exactly.
It is professional services, so it's not bound by our bid stuff.
I really do.
We want a consultant by March 16th, though.
That's Monday.
No.
I can tell you that by March 16th, I will have a list of people to talk with and have initiated contact. How about that?
So we have an amended motion on the table. Chrissy, would you like to read it one more time?
Sure.
For the record, for the people at home.
I move to amend the motion by replacing the directive to develop an expansion plan focused on the Gilbert School with a directive for the superintendent to prepare a comprehensive written study examining potential long-term models for Winchester Public Schools. The study shall be conducted with the assistance of an independent, qualified, third-party consultant or organization to ensure an objective and thorough analysis. The study shall include feasibility analyses, financial reviews, and potential phased implementation timelines for 1, expansion of the district's contracted services with the Gilbert School, 2, the feasibility and implications of Winchester Public Schools assuming operation of the district's secondary education program, and 3, the feasibility, cost, and timeline associated with constructing and operating a district-run high school. The amendment further requires that the study include potential changes to federal and state grant revenue and any challenges from state and federal law or town statutes. The consultant is authorized to engage with the superintendent, representatives from the Gilbert School, the Winchester Town Manager, and legal counsel. The amendment also adds that if additional feasible scenarios emerge during the course of the study, the superintendent shall include them in the analysis and present them to the board for consideration. Finally, the amendment replaces the deadline of March 16th, 2026, with a requirement that the finalized study be presented to the board on September 8th, 2026. The superintendent will provide updates at monthly meetings during the duration of the study.
Okay. We have a second. We can still discuss. Go ahead.
Okay, I just want to say, instead of saying the superintendent representative of school, would be the head of school, right, for Gilbert? That's his title?
Well, it could be him as well as.
Could it be the board
The
chair?
financial
It
manager.
could be the trust.
Could be their attorney?
Yeah. So anyone, any representative involved in Gilbert. It doesn't have to just
Oh,
be the
okay,
head of school.
okay, the
Yeah.
head of school, okay.
Yep, yep.
I
Okay,
second the motion.
we already have a second.
Oh, we do.
Chrissy,
Oh, Chrissy and
Ellie.
Ellie.
Yep.
Right, Chrissy and Ellie.
Do we have any further discussion on this amended motion? Okay. With that being said, let's bring it to a vote. Joe?
Oh, we're doing.
He's not gonna
roll-
raise hands?
Yeah, we're not gonna raise hands?
Just raise
We
hands.
can- Oh, yeah, sure. All in favor?
Everyone's on the phone.
Yeah, there's no one on the phone.
Okay.
Is that
Unanimous.
9-0.
Ooh, what do you know? Okay. All right, motion passes. Okay, on to, hey, how you holding up?
I'm good.
You can do
And I'm good.
information?
What happened?
Okay.
Thank you, Chrissy.
Cancer. Cancer, good cancer.
You're gonna fall and smash your head. That's
Okay, on to,
Which is
item
worse, but.
8, information items.
Yes, I do.
So enrollment reports.
Yeah, okay, enrollment. Here we go. Enrollment report, we still have kids, we still have lots of them.
That's good.
It hasn't changed drastically. We currently have 399 students at Gilbert. We have 590 here. We have 4 less in Winchester Public than when we started the year, and 4 less at Gilbert than when we started the year. Go figure, we're twinning. That's all I got. Attendance reports. I'm happy to say that when you look at year over year, in the month of February, our average daily student attendance was better than February of last year. And trending across the year, we are modestly better. We are eking towards that 95%, which is a goal. And chronic absenteeism, while atrocious in February, because it always is still better than it was last year at this time. And we are trending just slightly more chronic absenteeism right now than we were at this time last year for year-to-date.
Thank you to the admin team for getting the kids in the building. I mean, that matters a lot. Can't teach an empty chair.
Well,
Oh, we're trying.
we have a little higher rate, but I will say to you that, now I can't swear this because I don't have the spreadsheet in front of me, but that I imagine that last year's number is the number for the whole year and takes into account March, April, May, and June, where ours is only through the month of February. So, it's not a direct comparison. Personnel report, what do I want to highlight for you?
Where do you advertise for the SSO?
All over the place.
Yeah.
We put it on CT Leap, we asked Tom Dillon, I think he drops it in LinkedIn and in his networks.
Okay.
I have a finalist interview, what day of the week is today? It's Thursday, I was gonna say tomorrow, but that's not quite tomorrow.
Okay.
And Kathy, where are you, nurse? Right? Are they not scheduled yet, though? I believe they're on the calendar. Great. So we're closing in on SSO and nurse, and I am gonna plow forward with principal with, every hope that we end this budget season in a sane place, and if things fall apart, we'll deal with it when it does, but we do not wanna be starting that process, in the summer. So we have 30-plus enthusiastic people, we're plowing
Great.
forward. That gets us to financials, monthly budget summary. We have the 3 different sheets. The town appropriation is needing to be supplemented, and that is largely a function of special education tuition is the place where we're most underwater, is that right? And I'll say fix that, if you will, with grant money. We have no intention of ending the year with the town appropriation negative, and we clean that up, so that gets adjusted through the special education grants. Because every grant dollar gets applied. And I'll just point out that the 440 is still 440, I've lost where that is. It should be so easy to spot, why can't I see it? There it is, 682. That has not moved, since I'm here, actually, I believe. So, if we do the drone competition out of that, it will not have a significant impact.
Okay,
And that's it there.
perfect. Okay. Policies for first read.
I'm gonna make this easy for you and tell you, you can actually skip the first one. If at any point in the future we ever needed it, we could come back for it, but it actually only applies to 8th graders and above.
Right.
And typically, any of the policies that are like high school sports
Sure.
or swimming pool or things that just don't apply, we've not adopted those policies. So for the moment, this policy snuck by us and it is moot. So I will not put that on for a second read at the next meeting. Curricular exemptions is based on current legislation and pretty new. Written like now, 9/5/25, like that's brand new. So that's one you're gonna wanna give a read to. There's things in there, the law is very clear on what you must provide families the opportunity to exempt their children from. It's a short list, but that's law. They propose a form, it looks about right, we can tinker with it if we want. The Identification of gifted and talented students, again, that's law. The law requires that we identify students, and they require that we do that in a multidisciplinary manner. It's not acceptable in the eyes of the law to just use like one standardized test score. We've been doing a bunch of work around updating our identification model. On page 3 of this policy, there is a paragraph that before this comes to you for the second read, I'll strike that paragraph in section 4 that says the board may wish to include here. I would caution us against writing into policy what we do, given that we struggle to pass budgets and this is not a required service, but we currently kept the $6,000 in the budget for the gifted and talented stipend program that we're going to develop. So, but I would strike that. That should have been stricken. They're talking to us. It's not part of the policy. So I would take that out. And the homework policy, unlike Shipman, says literally nothing. So.
Yep.
But that is what they propose we do. And again, it's really would be in your regulations if you want to have guidelines around how much homework we give. I have not heard a lot of concern about us giving too much or too little. We seem to be getting that right, and so I'd be inclined to say, let's just pass the little policy. Stop.
What? No homework?
You want no homework?
No, I think we should leave it to the individuals, the professionals in the room. I think they're able to work with their parents and.
I'm a believer in little bits of homework. It
Yeah,
develops
it's moves
good
a curriculum,
habits
work
and
habits, discipline, routines.
I don't believe in burying little
Communication
kids
with
with
home.
hours. I love homework like go home and sort the shoes in mom's closet, or, you know, for kindergartners, like things that are, exactly.
I think that's, policy is good as it.
The IDEA policy, again, it's just based on the law, and it says we will make sure all students, particularly those with disabilities, take the testing if they're able to, and if not, that we do the alternative assessment. That probably harkens back to a time when people tried to exclude kids from testing to make their data look better or something. We don't do that. And that's it for policies. So you'll have a chance to review those between now and the next meeting. And at the next meeting, one of them will disappear. Like I said, that first one that applies only to 8th and 9th grade. The rest will be there. I'll have those cleaned up a little bit. They'll look a little more like Winchester, and although they're pretty close now. And they'd be on for approval at that point. So if you look at them and have any questions, by all means, reach out.
I'm sorry, can you remind me how close we are to, you know how we graduated from CABE to Shipman?
Yeah, so that's a great question. Jonathan is doing a great job. We meet a lot. We're due to meet again. Our 1s, 2s, 3s, 4s, tonight with the deletion of those 2 5s, I think we just finished the 5s. Don't hold me to it, I'll go back. At the next meeting, I'll give you a thorough update, or maybe at the subcommittee. But we are, with this set of policies, in the 6s. These are the teaching and learning policies. After that, there are no 7s. I don't want to disappoint you. There are no 7s. There are no 8s. Then what's left after that is board bylaws. And before we plow into that, I would definitely explore with all of you, maybe again at a curriculum, at a committee meeting, whether you have an appetite for looking at their bylaws and our bylaws. Some of our bylaws we need, they're so unique to us, like the business of how people on our board also serve on the Gilbert board. That's not gonna be in a Shipman policy. But we could certainly review their bylaws, particularly as it pertains to things like public comment, because we actually are operating on an older public comment policy that we have not updated, so.
Which was revised from an older one.
Yeah.
The last time the bylaws were looked at was 2022. What are we in, 2026?
Right, and you did do one adjustment since I'm here,
Yep.
just about the timing of the seats on the Gilbert School Board.
That's correct, to correspond to their needs.
Yep. So we are actually closing in on it. And when it's all said and done, we've already sort of designed how we'll lay it out on our website so that it's easy to access. You'll be able to sort of click through like 4,000s and get to all the 4,000s. They'll be there, it'll be lovely. And there'll be a cover sheet that shows you all of the policies and when they were adopted so that it's clean and tidy. And at the risk of disappointing you, I will remind you that at least quarterly Shipman does issue a list of policies that have to be updated based on legal changes, which is why we made the shift to Shipman. I mean, I wasn't here for that, but it makes perfect sense. We gave up our CABE membership to save the money of the membership, which means that our policies had stopped being updated, and as you can see, I mean, even without giving up the subscription, they hadn't been updated. Because we use Shipman as our attorneys, we have access to their database, and so the beauty of that is that even though it's a pain that we're constantly revisiting policies, they keep us honest, and every time the law changes, the policy changes, and they pump it out to us and they tell us, and so it keeps us legal and compliant, which can't really complain, that's a good thing. So we are close. That was the short answer, sorry. We're close.
Anyone else? Okay, let's move on to item F, social media. Board members' responsibility and potential Board of Ed Facebook page, or social media page, whatever that looks like. So we discussed this in a prior meeting. We were asked to revisit this again. So what I want to talk about and what I want us to talk about is one, how we as individual boards should represent themselves on social media as representatives, but also as members of the board. And then we can discuss also the potential of creating our own Board of Ed social media sites, which would be strictly informational for the public, with no comments. So I'd like to open up the discussion for both of those. Anyone have comments?
Well, I think it's us all having a joint social media page would be really beneficial to the community. Just sharing the meeting minutes after all of our, something that comes from all of us with all of the meeting minutes. It is really difficult for parents to make it out to the meetings and to always watch the meetings, but if they have a reliable source of information coming from us, I think that's beneficial not only to the community, but also to us.
I agree with that. I think your comments from before, speaking to the fact that sometimes you can get information that is incorrect from Facebook, or it can have a certain narrative, or it can be problematic if we were to have an official response or somewhere that we already have our website. I know that some people don't make that extra click over to the website, but if we did have something that was a little bit more formal from a social media perspective that was coming directly from the board, I'm just saying I'm not necessarily opposed to that, because, and I also, just as a sidebar, I think it's really good to see people come out and have public comment and speak to that, because I think it's really easy to have comments that can be defamatory towards others when you're typing and you're not face to face. I think that's a really important part of communication, is providing the information, like you said, I think is important. But if we get opinion-based, or if it can get very problematic, because people will, it can create an uproar that is unnecessary, whereas if we provided facts of what took place at a meeting, there's not much to speak back towards that. But I think the opposite can be very inflammatory, but that's why we have, and those that take their time out of their day to come and actually have public comment, I think that's why we do have that public forum, and I think it's important.
So my only question, so WPS has their own Facebook page, where they put information out there. Why couldn't we just share those posts as opposed to having our own, other than maybe the fact that people might get inundated because on the WPS, it's not just informational, it's pictures of what's going on within schools, and while most people should care about that, some people might get inundated, and then certain messages that we want out there might get lost. So having our own page might be a good thing. My only worry is as this page gets up and running, like who are gonna be who's gonna provide the content, and then, you know, as the years goes on with this page, how does the administration of that page get passed when board members leave? That could be doing. So there's a lot to consider to say, you know, who's gonna first run it, and then down the road, where, you know, how does that get transitioned and what did that look like? So it's not just as simple as putting a page together. I think we're all in agreement, if we do a page, there will be no comments turned on. It's strictly informational. I don't think anyone has an issue with that. So, anyone else have discussion as far as one, having our own Facebook page?
Who would run it? Just curious.
Great question.
Who's the administrator, in other words?
Yes, in other words.
I think there should be more, I think there should be a few.
Julie, do you run the WPS one? So I'm sure you don't wanna have the added.
No, I don't wanna do the board one.
No.
Yeah,
I don't think that's
I
appropriate.
understand, yeah,
I'm
but
happy to
instead of, like,
post things
combining.
if the board chooses to just put info things on our page and someone approves it and hands it to me. I mean, I can, no, I don't wanna
I
be in
don't
the
blame you.
business of creating content for,
No.
no.
I would,
I already typed the minutes, it's enough.
Yes.
I would task the board chair and Chrissy to put their heads together with this policy, number 9327.1, to use it as a basis for a social contract amongst us about agreed content that goes on there, because it's just announcements, but it's still us as board members, that we would all be reviewing this social contract and agreeing to it. And the question is who would draft and then review on our behalf that Julie would post?
I do have an idea. So we could, like, I'm obviously willing to draft something. And then it goes into a Google document that I can share with the board members, but I would share it as a view only, so it doesn't turn into a conversation outside of the eyes of the community.
That's right. And amongst
And that
ourselves.
way, yes, so that way everyone has eyes on it and can see. And then I would think that the chair would approve the post before it got posted on the Facebook page. But I thought that was a way to make sure that everybody has eyes on it before it goes further.
That's a good idea.
So that information would just be a summary of our meetings?
Yep, usually, I would probably wait until the meeting minutes came out, so then that's officially public information. I mean, not that this meeting isn't, but it would probably coincide with, and then also agendas for upcoming meetings.
Yep.
I don't know if we would wanna also share the packets or not, like a link to the packets, maybe.
Those
Links
are
to
already on our
YouTube.
website, right? Though I don't know how many people go to our website.
I will say I have seen in other districts where I've worked that board members will pop the upcoming board agendas into, like, you know, New Fairfield Elementary School Parents Group. They'll drop in the agenda with just a one-line comment that says, the Board of Ed Subcommittee is meeting Tuesday night at 5, hope you can join us. So certainly that would be a way to do it, is if you want to post things like agendas, and you certainly can include a link to the packet, which then pushes people back to our website.
Right.
You wouldn't create a different spot for it, it exists.
I agree. Do the link, because people want to look at it. you give people this, they're gonna go, oh, I'm not reading that, right?
Yeah,
So-
it would be
right.
a link
So
to
if they
the
wanna
packet,
see the
no.
link, let them,
Yeah.
you know, they can go
Not
there,
80
but,
pages.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're not gonna, they're gonna go, oh, no, it's too much. Yeah.
So,
Link to YouTube, right, also?
Yeah, but that would, I would imagine would be in like our page description would be the link to where you can watch the meetings.
so I would make a motion to direct.
You can't make a motion, my friend.
Oh, we
It's an
can't do
information
this?
item.
It's information, okay. Well, I would encourage Kurt and Chrissy to put their heads together to craft a social contract agreement on both process piece, on how things would be posted, and an agreement of what would be posted. And then bring it to the board of that at our next meeting, pending our approval. Process and an agreement of understanding what goes on it.
If we have a special meeting for the action item that we just approved, could that be put into the special meeting as well? If you want to expedite that process, or does it have to be?
Special meeting, I only can have one.
Why
I
are we
guess
having
you
a special
could.
mean?
Well,
Yeah.
I'm just saying, like.
No,
Well, no,
we'll
it
just
could
deal
be
with
part-
the
you
next
could
meeting.
add it to the
Could the
agenda.
updates of that study be included in this? Is that what you're asking?
Well, could they be on the same page is what I'm saying, the same meeting? I don't know, just. If
It's
there's, I
informational.
mean, if there's a special meeting about an update on the study, I'm saying, could
Well,
this?
we could also present it to.
Are you thinking because like you don't wanna wait till the April meeting?
I'm just saying it.
Cause I don't
Well,
think
we
we'll have much.
We have committee meetings at the end of the month.
So we actually don't, because the night of our committee meetings
Shoot.
is the public hearing
Right.
for, I'm, yeah, definitely upset about that. We have the public hearing on the night of the 24th, and we opted to do that instead of committee meetings this month.
Gotcha.
I would encourage y'all to be there on the 24th. if you can.
Yes,
That's the
please.
roof, right?
I want you to present with me.
That's Pearson.
Budget presentation.
I heard you first.
24th, wait a minute, the 24th, to have a meeting here for
That
the
is
vote on.
what, 2 weeks?
That's not a meeting, so on the 17th, there's a meeting about the
Right.
Pearson roof.
Last
The
week.
vote is on the 24th?
What?
Not a meeting, it's
That's
just
not
a
a
meeting.
vote. You go anytime, day or night.
Oh, it's, oh,
Awkwardly,
It's a
yes,
referendum.
same day, but the vote will be here. The public hearing is under the town charter, it's not something we pick. It's been scheduled since the fall,
no,
and it's a public hearing. Paul Harrington will be the one to do an agenda for it. And basically, the purpose of the meeting is for the Board of Education to present its budget request to the public and the Board of Selectmen. The Board of Selectmen sit up front at a table. I feel like you were there last year, no?
Pearson?
It's in the Pearson cafeteria.
yeah.
You might even spoke.
No,
I
was
think you
told-
did
I was
speak.
told that we weren't allowed to speak.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's how the budget got passed.
We can do it for April 7th meeting. All right?
That works for me, I was just asking.
Yeah. Do we really want to add more meetings?
No.
I don't know.
Well,
No.
We could.
Joe really enjoys this, Joseph,
Yeah.
sorry.
keep them busy at work, then they won't be.
All right, so Christy and I will work on that for the April 7th meeting.
And if there's something pressing that you all feel you want to get word about, like the public hearing or something, I do things by text and email a lot, but I also try to remember put things like that on Facebook. So feel free to poke me with, make sure we message this on Facebook, and just in case I'm forgetting.
Good. Anything else concerning that? No? All right, on to item 9, public comment. The Winchester Board of Education welcomes you to its business meeting. This is the second opportunity set aside to hear comments from the public. We will welcome and encourage public participation as a valued part of communicating input with the Winchester Board of Education. We appreciate your adherence to the following. Complete the requested information on the sign-in sheet if you wish to speak. State your name and address when called upon to speak. You will be allotted 3 minutes to share your comments. Please be advised that this is not the practice of the Board of Education to engage in dialogue regarding commentary. The superintendent of schools will be directed by the chairperson to prepare an appropriate response in a timely manner. We appreciate your time and thoughtful commentary. Joseph, why don't you start this off?
Sure, okay. So this is, I'm speaking on behalf of Matt Smith.
Okay.
And the letter reads as follows. Dear Board of Education, my name is Matt Smith, 662 East Wakefield Boulevard. I have been a long-time resident for over 60 years. I am away on a family vacation this week. I do, however, feel it is imperative to speak on the issue regarding the future direction of our town school system. The Board of Education needs to take all of the politics out of their thought process. The answer for our schools is rather simple: a unified system with one entity controlling pre-K through 12th grade. A straight line education pre-K through 12th grade is what is needed and will provide our children a better education and be fiscally responsible. The Board of Education, and especially the chair, need to have their meetings run in a much more professional manner. The last 2 months, the meetings have been run very poorly. It's been ridiculous. Follow Robert's rules, please. The Gilbert School should be asked to be given a plan to unify the town school system by the 16th of March. They are professional and more than capable of doing that. I believe this is our best option. Having a motion to investigate WPS running pre-K through 12th grade and building a new high school is also a great exercise for the superintendent to go through. It's important to have bold new ideas and other options. Asking Gilbert to turn over a 130-year-old private institution to the town is laughable on so many levels. Besides being offensive to the Gilbert School's history with the town, legal ramifications would be long-reaching, and the board's fiduciary responsibilities would be questioned without serious legal counsel. I wish the Board of Education well tonight. This should and could be one of the most important meetings in our town's history regarding our children and the school system's future. Obviously, trying to be read prior to the meeting, but you wanted, yeah, so.
Fair enough. Anyone else wish to speak?
My name is Tyler Asbury, 233 Cold Brook Road. I want to thank the board for being so flexible and trying to build public trust by amending this motion and moving forward this. I think that is fabulous that you guys were able to move so quickly along that and adjust with the how the public gave some of their comments today. Also, I'd like a special shout out to Dr. Julie Libby, who is out there grant writing and scoring money left and right. She's worth a weight of gold, and I'm sure she will continue to help with the financial problems. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to speak? Oh, yeah.
Thanks, Barb.
I don't even have a paper in front of me this time, so I'm just gonna have to just go for it. Renee Waldron, 111 Standard Avenue. That was the best meeting I've seen so far. In like, what, how long have you guys started here on the board?
Not very
So,
long. November 5th. It's November 5th.
that was the best meeting I've seen so far. Thank you so much for all working together. I'm excited for you. I think that looking at all different options is the way to go. You know, be informed, know what we're doing. And I trust every one of you to make the best decision for the Winchester students and the residents of Winchester. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Okay, obviously it's positive reinforcement time.
Who are you? Which identity are you using tonight? Which
I'm just
identity are
me,
you
Marianne
using tonight?
Marino, 631 Vera Road. I just want to echo what those guys just said. Thanks, you guys. There were meetings leading up to this that I'm sure we can all agree were painful, and they were painful to watch, and it's very encouraging to see all of you working together, coming to consensus, doing it in a timely manner in the meeting and also in professional manner. And I, too, am extremely excited about the future and the possibilities and where you're headed. So thanks.
Anyone else wishing to speak?
Candy Perez, 605 West Wakefield Boulevard. I find some things interesting that someone just commented to take politics out of it while exactly putting politics into it. So Kurt, I think that it was unfortunate for the comment towards you. Your job is hard. I've sat in a similar position, and I know that a lot of things that happen, you are always blamed for something. So I'm sorry, and I want to recognize that it's a difficult job that you're in. It's a difficult job you're all in, right? Budget season for my 22 years has always been like this almost all the time, except for a brief stint through the 2017s, 18s, when we had assessors and other people and managers and state help, et cetera, right, come in. So budgets are always difficult, so hang in there. I mean, this is the budgets because we're trying to take the $1 from all taxpayers and split it 3 ways, right? That's what we're all trying to do, right?
Right.
The taxpayers have $1, trying to split it 3 ways, so it's very difficult to do that, and it's really a 3-legged stool, and without any one of the legs, it falls over. So the next few weeks are gonna be difficult weeks. The Board of Selectmen is not going to have a good time. It's going to be very difficult. So with all that said, I also would like to say congratulations for doing what you did tonight. It was hard work. It was difficult work because there are other people that are always involved in all these things. I know enough to know that there's pressure put on people to do certain things. So the fact that you all came forward, like all of you on all sides came forward to work together, is what the old board that was successful did. That's what that board did that was successful. That's what some of the boards I sat on that were successful. All oars going in the same direction. You got an independent person out there. And if any of you need any historical information, I have boxes in my house from the 2000s with anything you need. I'd be glad to give it to you. And then I get my kitten when I clean up my house.
Anyone else wishing to speak? Anyone else? Anyone else? Going once, going twice. All right, moving on. Future agenda items and board member comments.
Can I make a comment? I wanted to say thank you to the PTO. They donated a bunch of stuff for kids during recess. My daughter was very happy that she had jump ropes today. So much appreciated. I also wanted to say I'm super excited to go read to a 4th grade classroom tomorrow. It'll be very fun. And I also wanted to say that I also am very excited for the future. I think we have work to do, but again, like everybody said, I'm glad that we were all able to come together and hopefully have a positive impact on this town. We can change a lot of bad history and bad feelings that have been in the past regarding this budget and the relationships between schools, and I just think it's a really great opportunity for us to move forward. So thanks, everybody.
Yep. So, I appreciate everybody coming here. You're part of this process as well. I just like to encourage you all to come to more meetings, not just when we're in budget season. Because even if you don't comment, just being in the room present, being part of that conversation, it allows you to get a better understanding of what we're actually talking about. So, after budget season, I'd just like to see these chairs filled. Even if you don't say anything, just be here.
Well, they're
Your
always
presence
there.
is noted.
They're always there.
Tried and true.
They're the troopers.
Thank you. Anyone else? Is everyone reading to 4th grade tomorrow?
I'm reading to 2nd.
Oh, you're second. All right. We got 3 4th graders.
I got asked, but I have to go to school.
Gotcha.
I think I got assigned.
All right, anything else? Okay, on to item 11, adjournment.
I make a motion to adjourn at 9:55 PM.
Laura?
Second.
Shane, all in favor?
Nice.
That was a pretty good meeting.
I'm waiting for the night someone votes no on the adjournment.